self, and the power to access it. Remember this, as we unlock an even greater gnosis from beyond the veil.
From the fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, good morning, good evening, or you may be across the nation, around the world. I'm Chris Gio. I will be taking you beyond the veil this evening. I am joined, of course, by my lovely wife and co-pilot, Mrs. Gio.
Good evening, everyone.
And we have an incredible show for you. We got a super chat from Nina the Mystic. I think I already said what's up to Nina, but 666, I love it.
Yeah, I love it too.
Happy New Year's to you too. Sending some love from Canada and love right back to you, Nina, as well. We actually need to have Nina on the show sometime soon. We were on her show recently, so check out Nina the Mystic's channel. Go over there, and we did a great interview, and I've been watching some of her other content as well, and it's wonderful content. As a matter of fact, I think we might need to extend an invitation to Nina to do a show on TFR.
Oh,
as
that would be great.
I was talking about in what's going to be the cut from the regular broadcast and put only in patreon.com/BTV Tribe.
Excellent.
The whole intro of the show. 69 from Guru. Hey Chris,
Guru,
last month
you.
while I was on shrooms, I had an experience with the wheel of reincarnation.
Ooh.
And I had this feeling of being accelerated towards the light. But then I sank in my own darkness and I popped out of a circuit board and onto a bed. You are giving me chills, because that is what Nikki Colombo is going to be talking about tonight. She's going to be talking about the light body. She's going to be talking about the new overlay over the light body and the 13th dimension, the 13th point that the feline goddesses have put into this matrix to allow us to get out. And it sounds like your experience. First of all, thank you very much for the generous donation. Very generous. But second of all, it sounds like we're having similar experiences. Shireen, please tell people what happened last night while I was sleeping.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm asking you to say it so they know I'm not making it up off the top of my head.
So I've had some stomach issues at night, and particularly bad at night lately. So I've been up all night on and off, and I fall asleep every couple hours, but I only sleep for about 30-45 minutes at a time. And so in the midst of all this, I'm on the computer and I'm surfing and doing research for the show.
So I did first of all, let me say, I did a 36-hour day. It's been weird sleep schedules. I've been working for 36 hours, and then I'll sleep for 12.
Yeah, I'll sleep for 12 to 14. Yeah.
And it's funny because it always catches me up. I'm up in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm up all night, I stay up until about 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, then I go to sleep and I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning again.
6 a.m.
So I fell asleep about 3 or 4.
Yeah. And so he had been asleep this entire time, and I just was checking up on him every once in a while. I'd look over and, kind of rub him a little bit, make sure he's okay. And then suddenly he would jolt and look around and go, "What?" And then he lay back down. And the third time he did it, he said, "Did you just tell me to lift my head?" And I said, and it shocked me. And I was like, "No, I didn't say anything." And he said, "I could swear you were right behind me and you were saying to lift my head." And I said, "Baby, I didn't say a word to you. I haven't said anything to you."
I want to expand on that here in just a second. Can you do me a favor?
Yes.
Can you write a little note? Guru sent us a Patreon message in depth about his experience.
Oh, wow.
I don't want to go into that right now because I don't want to keep Nikki holding for too long.
Okay.
However, I do want to go into that message a little bit later. And as a matter of fact, if you can find that message while I go into this part, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
And we need to start paying more attention to our Patreon messages. And as a matter of fact, we're going to do a Patreon exclusive chat where we're paying more attention to the Patreon chat. That way we can be more,
engaged with the ones
with our Patreons.
That are Patreons, yeah.
You guys, all of you guys and gals are the tribe.
Yeah, you're the tribe.
But the Patreons have gone above and beyond. And I feel like we need to go above and beyond too, especially for people like Guru, a Patreon, and sending super chats at the same time.
Absolutely. So, the only problem is I'm having trouble logging on to the Patreon.
You have to log on through my personal email address.
Okay, yeah. I'm just having the wrong password. I guess I'll just try a bunch of
I see. Okay, no problem. Then don't even worry about it. I'll take care of that later.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
So back to this experience. What was happening is 3 times I felt like Cherie was telling me to lift my head. And it felt like jolting, like, like when you're about to have a seizure. It felt like jolting back, and I was like, did you just wake me up to tell me to lift my head? I felt somebody telling me, lift your head, lift your head. And Cherie said, I think they're messing with your pod.
Yeah.
And I felt something being plugged back into the back of my real body. So we're having more and more and more connections.
Yeah.
So going back to your comment, Guru, which we do want to get to at the end of the broadcast, I think we're waking up to the real world. We're waking up to base reality, or we're waking up to a new matrix that has been created for the ascended beings out there.
Yeah.
And I know that we're in a tangent universe right now. We are here with the virus, and we have to be because we are the antivirus. So we have to be here with the virus. But the virus is being eliminated, and we're watching it not being able to move. We're watching it. I mean, if you look at religion, and religion isn't the only form of the virus. Religion is just a form of the virus that we can see that really deeply infects people because it really inverts everything. It's the inversion of everything. Satanism, as defined by religion, is the inversion of all things good into evil and evil into good.
Right.
But when you really look at it, what is Christianity doing? And I'm picking on Christianity only because it's the religion of the West. But if I was in the East, I'd be picking on Islam. So please don't think that I'm picking on just this, but it's the Judeo-Christian belief systems, bullshit, BS, however you want to phrase it, that inverts everything from good to evil and evil to good. The beautiful motif of Isis. I've talked about this before, so forgive me for being redundant. I'm going to pull it up on the screen, though, for those of you that haven't seen this. But the beautiful motif of Isis, which is her spreading her wings, and it's a sign of life. It's actually the vagina. And
the vulva,
and it's the vagina, the vulva,
the
spread,
clitoris,
not in a sexual way, but in a way of life-giving.
Yes,
it's a portal. The vagina is a portal. That's why it's so sacred throughout ancient cultures. But not only that, but it's the divine aspect of consciousness as well. It's the creating, it's the compassion, it's the love, it's the empathy, it's all of that. Where the masculine is the logical processor, and it's the protection, and all that stuff. I'm not going to get too far into that because I'm going to be on a 45-minute rant before we even bring Nikki on. But what they've done is they've taken this and they've inverted it into a crucifix. Why can't I spell crucifix? Why
Crucifix.
Okay, I don't know why I couldn't remember how to spell that.
It's okay.
So they've inverted it into a man dying on a
torture
cross,
device,
into a torture device. So you see the inversions there, and it's sad. And we live in a world that's upside down. As a matter of fact, our eyes themselves are actually upside down.
Yeah.
So our brain just takes all the images and flips them right side up, but our eyes are actually upside down. So we live in an inverted world.
Yes.
And I was actually writing a script earlier. I can show you a little bit of this. It's and you haven't even seen this yet, but it's the Yahweh virus, and it's part of Resetting the Matrix film, and this is just another chapter I was working on. As technology expands into photorealistic graphics and virtual reality, so does our language and our ability to communicate ideas and information in a new way. For example, a cubit, as seen in the Bible, is described as a form of measurement, the distance between the elbow and the middle finger. This is a cubit. Look.
Yep.
This is a cubit.
That is a cubit.
The distance between your elbow and your middle finger. If that's not a big fuck you, I don't know what is. However, in modern terminology, a qubit is a basic unit of measurement in quantum computers. As our lexicon grows, so does our consciousness. While we have the ability to imagine anything and everything possible, being able to communicate these ideas to one another is limited by the time period we live in. A human living 1,000 years ago would not have an understanding of virtual reality, artificial intelligence, programs, and viruses. Instead, they might use words like realms, God, and angels and demons. So it goes on a little bit more. I actually quote the Bible out of this, Ecclesiastes. The thing that has been has always been, and that which has been done, there is nothing new under the sun. So, and then we go into Gematria and, stuff like that. But anyways, that's a little excerpt that I was working on from Resetting the Matrix, which is breaking down the computer simulation and everything. No pun intended, breaking down the computer simulation.
Yeah.
Yes, but it segues into our experience in Egypt, which we've talked about endlessly here on the broadcast, but we didn't talk about the little details that Nikki is going to join us here in a few moments and expand upon. But there was a point in time where I don't remember if it was while we were in Egypt or if it was beforehand. But I never really got in contact in my ayahuasca experiences with any of the feline energies, Sekhmet and Bastet in particular. They never appeared to me. I never really had, any contact with them or anything like that. They never came up. It was always Isis, Osiris, Anubis, Thoth. A lot of Thoth, a lot of Thoth, but never any of the feline energies. Then Nikki said something to me in a conversation, and those words have echoed throughout years. Those words have changed the path of my journey. Those words were spoken on such a deep soul level that it completely changed everything. It was a very basic phrase: call upon the felines. Invoke the felines. And we did. And while we were in Egypt, before we went to the pyramid, we went to the temple of Karnak, and it was something at 6 o'clock in the morning. It wasn't planned. We were able to do an ayahuasca ceremony there if we wanted to. I was just afraid that we would run out of ayahuasca and we wouldn't have enough for the Great Pyramid.
Yeah, me too.
So that's one of the main reasons why we didn't. I didn't know how much ayahuasca I would need at the Great Pyramid, and I drank everything that we had at the Great Pyramid, which I could have drank less, but my thoughts were, this is once, you've got one chance at this, you better overshoot than undershoot.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's neither here nor there. So when we went to the Temple of Karnak, Cherie was greeted by the priests there, and they came up running up to her in particular and said, we've been waiting for you. We've been waiting for you. I'm not one of them. I'm one of hers. I'm one of hers. You must come and see Sekhmet. Now, this was after Nikki had said, invoke the felines. And this was before any of the felines ever entered into my consciousness or any of my ayahuasca experiences. I am a soldier of Isis. And that, if this was 2015, I'd probably have the NSA knocking on my door for that. But you know what I mean. Aset. The god Isis is how they actually call her in Egypt, because I said, Isis. And they said, Isis? And I pointed, no, Isis. And they said,
they thought we were talking about the other.
Isis. But anyway, they came up to her and they did this ritual on her, and they took the sycamore and drew an ankh on her forehead, took her above to the temple of Sekhmet that's inside of Karnak. I have some of this on the live stream. Some of it I cut away because some of these moments were sacred. And so you just see in the live stream, you can hear what's going on, but you can't see what's going on because these moments were just too sacred. And then they take us over to Sekhmet's temple and they say, you must do a meditation at Sekhmet's temple. And I didn't think that they were talking about go and do a meditation, because I thought they were just opening up the doors for us so we can just go take some pictures, feel the energy, and get out. But no, they wanted us to sit down, meditate, and we had about 45 minutes and did a live Facebook stream at the Temple of Sekhmet in Karnak. And she pretty much ordained the mission and said, okay, it's go time. I'm sending you my felines. And it all came from the one word or one phrase that was spoken by Nikki Colombo: call upon the felines. I never would have thought to call upon the felines. But actually, while we were there, the felines called upon us, because we were told, Sekhmet is waiting for you. Come and see Sekhmet. After that, it was, you must go see Osiris. And they took us into the temple of Osiris, which was also closed off to the public, opened it specifically for us. And then that's when they did some kind of initiation ritual, which we did get a lot of it on live stream. But they did this initiation ritual in the temple of Osiris right there. These are just the caretakers of the temples. They didn't know who we were. They didn't know any of that. But when we walked in, they felt the frequency and the energy. Oh, it was amazing. I mean, this happened not only there, but at the Temple of Isis too. I mean, at the Temple of Isis, we walked out. I'm fucking blown on ayahuasca. All of a sudden, all these guys start coming up to us. They start bowing to us and start asking us to speak to their dead relatives and to tell their dead relatives different messages and things like that. And I'm looking at Cherie and I'm like, Cherie, I cannot even talk. I can't. I'm so far out of it. And she's like, it's okay. I got it.
He was still in the realm, so I took over.
And she starts hugging them and she's like, you know, your loved ones will be okay. You will be blessed. You know, you will be blessed. And these people are crying and just, I'll never forget the look on that guy's face. And I wish I wasn't so far off in hyperspace, because I wish I would have acted more like what they expected, what they needed. Yes, what they needed. But instead I was just like,
no,
you know, I was like, you got to get these people out of here.
We don't apologize.
You know, we can't have these energies. Like we needed to be there for them, but at the same time we were there for a very specific purpose. And
they were just excited.
I couldn't process what was going on, and I hope I didn't make them
They
feel
were just
bad.
Excited to see us there. It had been a really long time, and they had been waiting a really long time. One of them told me they'd been waiting a really long time.
I think you healed them. I thank you for taking that role.
And I did what needed to be done. I did what they needed.
It was a very powerful experience.
It was extremely,
and
it was life-changing.
If we didn't have Nikki waiting, I would play some footage.
I would love for you to, but yeah, we are.
When we went to Cairo after that, what happened was we sat down with our people and they said, okay, we're going to do this tonight. We have this ready for you. We have that ready for you, etc. And we sit down with them and we have the traditional hibiscus tea. And I think it was something else that they offered us as well. And, you know, I told Cherie, I said, you know, we have to, in other countries, it's rude if you don't accept drink and food when it's offered. It can actually
ruin a business transaction or some kind of, you know, any kind of relationship you have going on.
That.
Yeah.
And so she drank hibiscus tea, which I found out, you know, I hope Nikki doesn't mind me saying this, but she told me off air she's also allergic to hibiscus tea because it has sulfates in it. Sulfites. Large amounts of sulfites. And so we have about 5 hours to get to the pyramid. They're waiting for us. They actually postponed it for 2 more hours to give us more time to heal.
Yeah.
But she drank the hibiscus tea and we're sitting in the hotel preparing, and all of a sudden her face blows up, her lips blow up, her neck.
I look like I got Botox,
blowing up like this.
But yeah, it was getting harder to breathe.
Yeah, and she looked sexy with those lips. I know that Danny's in the
I should
chat.
Probably get Botox.
She's saying how sexy you look today. Everybody's saying how sexy you look today. We had our housekeeper come, and she's like, "Oh my God, you look beautiful."
Aww.
Nikki saw you earlier, and she's like, "Darling, you look gorgeous."
Aww,
I love the way that she is.
So
I do.
Sweet.
And then people in the chat are saying how gorgeous you are today. You are glowing today.
Thank you.
You are glowing today.
Thank you.
And despite all the trials and tribulations and everything that we're going through, you're just like, I don't know. I think last night, I hope I'm not jumping around too much, but I think that we got some upgrades.
Yeah, we did.
And we put an order out there, and especially with Kev's passing, we put an order out there, and we said, we are not leaving apart. We have to leave together. So however you need to make that happen, you need to make that happen.
Yeah.
If it means one of us leaves early, then so be it.
Yeah.
But both of us are going to leave together.
At the same time.
I can't imagine one moment in this matrix without you, and I know you can't imagine.
That's what I've been
in this
dreading since 2018.
This wasn't a request. This was an order. And I think that's part of what was going on there. You know, I think that they plugged something into my body to either speed up the process or do something to sync us up together to our exit points in the matrix,
so that the exit points converge.
And I explained it to him. It's very simple. It's an explosion, or something like that, where we're both together and all of a sudden, boom,
where entropy converges,
right? And then we're gone. That's the only way that I'm willing to leave together. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
So as we were going to the pyramid, Cherie starts saying, "I don't think that I can do this." And I said, "Sweetie, we've been waiting 12,000 years there's no choice in this. If you can't do it, I got to do it by
Yeah,
myself.
and
if I do it by myself, I'm not walking out
yeah,
of there.
there's no way.
So at the pharmacy, we went from one pharmacy to another looking for a freaking EpiPen, and they all kept saying, go to the hospital. And we're like, we can't go to the hospital. You don't understand.
Not an option.
We cannot go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Is this not an option? Finally, we found a pharmacy that had an EpiPen.
Yeah.
And you had this Muslim guy take you in the back and say,
pull down your pants.
Pull down your pants. And
turn around, pull down your pants.
Yeah, turn around, pull down your pants. Just
right.
like, okay.
All right.
And he pops
when your throat's swelling up, you're not thinking about propriety, especially even in a Muslim country. You don't care. You just want to breathe again. So yeah, I'm waiting for that shot to kick in, and it takes about 10-15 minutes for it to kick in. So I'm waiting for it to kick in, and I'm so tired, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. And Chris is like, well, you kind of have to, because I'm not getting out of there. I'm not walking out of there alive. If I have to go on myself. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And I called upon Bastet. I think I called upon Bastet internally, and I just don't remember doing so because
she was out of it. I mean, she was walking around, stumbling around, barely able to breathe.
I was
we're having
really
to make
incoherent.
a life or death decision. Do we go to the hospital and ensure that she continues, or do we go to the pyramid and ensure that our 12,000-year-old mission is
continues
accomplished?
Yeah, exactly.
And
it was
like the 3D. We had to make a choice.
Yeah.
We're either going to risk the 3D in this small incarnation, and I gave you all the documentation.
100% worth it.
Documentation. If I don't come out of this, here's what to do.
Yeah.
Here's what to do with TFR. Here's what to do with everything that we built. Here's how to make sure everything continues. Like we went through all of this.
Yeah.
And I
horrible.
didn't realize that you getting hit with that could have created that reaction or that action that I was so afraid of, because I was afraid of the pyramid. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was afraid of the pyramid, but I knew it had to be done.
Right.
But once that happened, then all of a sudden I wasn't afraid anymore.
Yeah.
And once we got in the pyramid, forget about it. It was go time.
Yeah.
It was just like, the feeling of being locked by yourself in the Great Pyramid just overtakes you.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's raw consciousness. Chris and Sherigio don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
It's go time. She was running
They're irrelevant.
to the subterranean chamber, and you have to go like hunched over. And she's just like going 1,000,000 miles an hour going down to the subterranean chamber.
I'm so excited. I didn't care.
I can't even keep up. You see me in the videos, and I'm saying, hey, sweetie, hold on. And I'm trying to think of something to talk about to make it just seem like I'm not winded. But really, I needed a break to be winded. So I'm like, hold on, let me get your thoughts on this. What do you think about this?
He didn't want to. Yeah, he didn't want to make it look like what it actually was.
So
Bastet had to be called upon, and she appeared,
and she started talking to you, and saying it's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. And sure enough, as soon as we got in that pyramid, it was go time.
Yep, she appeared between my legs while I looked down, and there's this little black cat in the middle of Cairo. Little black cat, comes crawling between my legs, and I pick her up and I start petting her, and I'm like, this cat is so sweet, and it must be Bastet. It's Bastet saying everything's going to be okay. And once that happened, I was like, even if everything's not okay, I know that I'm doing the right thing, because I can't think of a more worthy sacrifice than to die for this kind of mission. That would be, it would not displease me to die for that kind of cause.
It didn't matter.
Yeah.
Life and death
that didn't matter anymore.
Because when you're in that frequency and you're in that zone, I'm not talking about just with all of your heart and all of your soul that this is an ancient mission that has to be fulfilled, and that this life is a flicker.
Meaningless.
This life is it's a drop in the ocean compared to the
consciousness that you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did it, and we came out, and we came out of it bigger and stronger and better than we've ever been. And so it was amazing. But it all started with that one comment.
Mm-hmm.
Call upon the felines that
felines.
echo through my head and still continues to echo through my head. Now, one final thing before we bring Nikki on. Cherie has been bugging the hell out of me for years about getting cats. And I had these 2 little Chihuahua dachshunds, Snickers and Skittles. And
When we first got together,
When we first got together. And I had them for 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
And 13 years is a long time.
That's a long time in dog years.
Especially when you're only 30 years old. That's half your life. And so when they passed, they took a huge piece of my heart with them. And I couldn't go through that pain again. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't. And I fought her for years. For years. I was like, no.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll tell you what. I said, since the felines have been such an integral part of our journey, I'll make you a deal. I'll get you cats for your birthday, but we have to get 2 black ones, 1 long hair one, and 1 short hair one, and we're going to name them Sekhmet and Bastet.
Yep.
And that way, when we call them in the house every day, we're invoking the felines, and we're calling to the felines, because all these words have frequencies. So we're calling them constantly and filling the house up with Sekhmet and Bastet energy.
With those energies,
just all the time. I mean, with everything. Sekhmet, Bastet, where are you? Sekhmet, Bastet, you want treats? Sekhmet, Bastet, you want to come cuddle?
Is it pretty big?
Yeah, she sings to him, all that. And I said, okay, and I posted on Facebook. Not 7 minutes later, this lady writes me back and she goes, I got them both for you right here.
Within 30 minutes.
They're sisters, and they're ready to go. They'll be ready to go. They were about 4 weeks in that picture.
Yeah.
And she said they'll be ready to go in a few weeks, maybe 5 weeks.
Yeah,
and
they were about 5 weeks old.
Yeah, she actually wrote me on Facebook, and she said, they're only 7 weeks, but you can come and pick them up. And we went and we picked them up, and they looked at us and immediately came running towards us. And they did not look back. We picked them up, and
they were ready to go home.
They would want to, say goodbye to their brothers and sisters,
and their mother.
Something like, and their mother, something like.
Nope.
They didn't even look back.
They knew we were mommy and daddy, and we were taking them home.
We brought them home, and they didn't scratch, they didn't meow, they didn't do anything
except
for eager to go home. And then as soon as we get home, Cherie had the idea of putting all their cat toys all over the bedroom.
Yeah,
and
already
a little
having
cat
them
tree.
out. Yeah.
And as soon as we brought them home, we opened up the carrier, and they went running towards the cat toys. They started jumping all over the place.
They were so happy.
Fighting with each other, play fighting, and they started
they
doing,
were so
and they were
cute.
just like, they're super fast when they're little.
Oh yeah.
So they all over the place.
Oh, every morning.
They were as happy as can be, and we thought, well, we might need to keep them in the bathroom, for a couple of days, get them used to it.
Get them used to the environment.
They got used to it immediately.
They loved it.
Immediately. And then I woke up the next day, I did a little live stream on Facebook. I said, look what's invaded our bedroom. And they were
already all over me.
Oh, they were just, and then they took to you immediately. They started protecting you. And then one more little thing, and we'll bring Nikki up, or bring Nikki on. We had this amazing experience, probably the deepest one that we've ever had, besides the pyramids and all that, called What is the Aten, A-T-E-N. And that's one of our best shows. I think I put it as a trailer. If I didn't, check out What is the Aten. I'll put it as a trailer. But it was the deepest map of the Matrix that I've ever seen, ever. And it was the deepest experience. And they both came, sat on the bed. And as we started going into the experience, we didn't expect any of this. We were candy flipping.
Yeah.
So we thought that we were going to have some fun, snuggle, make love. It was going to
be a bonding
experience, between us. I had no intention of going into hyperspace.
Me either.
They jumped on the bed, and they're like, it's time to go to hyperspace. And they turn into these little little things, and they had eyes all over them. And then these little things came out of their heads, and we both saw this simultaneously. And it was like this little, like this little bell.
Yeah.
It was like, like a cowbell.
Yeah, like a spinning.
Yeah, and it was spinning.
Cowbell.
And they were spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning, and they were like, "Oh, we've been waiting to do this for a while."
We love doing our spinning thing.
Yeah, we started calling it their spinning thing.
The spinning thing.
And they were generating the frequency.
Yeah.
And It was, and
It
they
was
were
like a
purring.
portal.
They were purring at the same time.
Yeah.
It was their purr that they transformed into these little elves, and then they started purring, and then that's when I started going deep into hyperspace.
Yeah.
One layer after another, after another, after another.
was like
System
fuel.
map, you know, literally everything. And I came back and I was like, oh my God, I had the most incredible experience. And we talked about it, and that's that. So that's our story about the felines.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, it started from one phrase.
Mm-hmm.
Call upon
the felines.
the felines. So all thanks to Nikki Colombo.
All thanks to you, Nikki.
Nikki, I hope we didn't keep you waiting for too long, but there was so much to go over. How are you doing, my dear?
I'm doing fantastic, darling. Just considering it's been pretty rough week for all of us. I've had a bit of a purge and everything like that, a bit of a detox and a clean out, and I feel much better today. That's for sure, darling.
Good.
It's been rough. It's been rough, darling.
It has
It's been
been
rough.
rough.
It's been rough. It's been rough for all of us. But you know what? We're really strong, and we're going to get through this because we've got knowledge. And when you've got knowledge, you can be empowered. So we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay.
That is true.
absolutely
That is
correct.
true. So we went into the whole spiel about the felines, and I know we were talking off air, and this is what prompted the show. Was like, oh my God, we gotta talk about this, you know, with our people here, because this is just fantastic content. So I was sharing all the stories that I shared with our audience, with you personally. And then you started talking about the importance of the lion and the mother spirit being the lion, the white lion. Do you think we should start from there?
Yes, darling, of course, yes. Okay, so the feline races are actually one of the progenitors of the human race before we even were in this kind of body. They're called the Anuhazi, and it actually represents the female magnetic energy. And Sekhmet is responsible for giving us the Ankh, the light symbol of life. And that was very, very powerful, and that's been taken away from us, but now it's been brought back, right? And so what has happened now is the feline races are an aspect of the triple goddess and Hatshepsut. I can never bloody say that name.
Hatshepsut.
That's it, darling. Thank you very much.
Hatshepsut.
And yeah, that's it. Yeah, okay. And so because this realm, I should say, has been so infiltrated and so corrupted, they have actually created another universe for us. And what this has done is that it's put a sheath around our light body and around the earth as well. And on the very top of this sheath is a point on the 13th. Chris, I've got here is the Ankh body here. Can you bring that up on screen, darling?
Yes, ma'am. Let me pull it up here.
There's two pictures. One is a smaller version, one's a larger version. So you can bring up both, well, whichever one, darling. Let's have a look. Okay. Here we go. We've got this. Okay, you've got the big one there. Okay, that's the bigger one. Let me pull up the bigger one here for myself to have a look at.
Are these two different? Do you want me to pull the other one up first?
Yeah, they're both the same,
They're
darling.
both the same. Okay.
Yeah, except one's a bit, one is an inner version and the other one is a larger version, right?
Okay.
So here we've just been given this
Oh,
back.
cool. I can switch between both of them. So, okay, I'm on the larger version. So whenever you want me to switch, just give me the cue.
Yeah, okay, darling, let me see. Now, okay, up the top here, it's got the 13th Mother Arc, right? Okay, so that's the point at the very top there. That's the new sheath that has been put around the light body. That very point at the very top there is going to give us access to this new universe that has been created for us. It's blue. It's a pale turquoisey kind of blue kind of universe. This is going to give us, this has only been brought back to us since the invasion in Egypt, thousands of years ago. So this, it's always been on Earth, but it was taken away. It's a very, very powerful light symbol that you can work.
Do you mind if I chime in for a moment there? Because, You mentioned something key, the invasion of Egypt, and we were talking off air about Hatshepsut. I'm going to give a really brief description of Hatshepsut. She was a female pharaoh. She made trade deals with everybody all around rather than making war. She had peace, prosperity. She was actually allowed in the where the priests did their ceremony. And she actually wore the pharaonic beard to symbolize her actually being the pharaoh. She started as the regent for her nephew, but she made so many great trade deals that she made Egypt great again. And then Egypt fell because there was a lot of infighting within Egypt, particularly from her nephew, who was part of the old power structure, who was trying to take over, and he was skipped over and eventually wound up doing a coup. Much like we saw in 2020 with you-know-who. So it's very interesting, the parallels, because we saw the fall of Egypt, and now we're seeing the fall of the new Egypt, which is the United States, which the United States was supposed to be the new Egypt. If you go back through the old documents, you see, and that's why we've got an obelisk and all that, but that's a whole nother show. But I just wanted to tell people who Hatshepsut was and why it's so important, because I feel that we're repeating a cycle, and we're at that same cycle now with everything that happened in 2020.
Yeah, so she's actually an aspect of the triple goddess. So now that she's back, this real mother is back. We really haven't had a real mother principle on the earth. I know this might sound a bit funny with other mothers and stuff like that, but we really haven't had the real mother principle here, because she's been so corrupted with so many things. So now she is back, and Hatshepsut is an aspect of the triple goddess. Now this has got to do also to do with the feline races, and which are actually called the Anunnaki, right? And the Anunnaki are like I said before, they are before the human prototype was even created. We had the Anunnaki, we had the dolphin bipedal, and we had the aerial races too. Those three combined actually created the human body, right? The first prototype of the human. This is why we have such an affiliation with the feline races, because they're 12th dimensional, they're 12D and above, right? The others aren't as high of those dimensions, but she's the one that first came out of the 13th dimension and into the 12, into the matrix, right? So now she's given us the keys back to go past through. If you can see up here, guys, up the very top here, it says 1313 Mother Ark, okay? This has not been on our light body for a very, very long time. It's been returned to us very, very recently. Like I'm talking about in the last couple of months, or 4 or 3 months, right? The Ankh, I still don't quite understand, and I probably will get more information about that. I don't understand exactly where the tie-in is for there, but I know that it's a powerful light symbol that we can use to actually activate certain shields around our body to protect us from negative outside sources. So that's the point here, is that if you can see, you've got the emerald crystal heart in here. This is a part of the Anunnaki and the Emerald Covenant races as well. You've also got the 15 rings and the dragon breath and the galactic plasma, okay? This is the avatar 12D, a plasma energy that is coming through, and they're like kind of gelesic rings, right? Now, dragon breath, of course, on this earth, we have all been we've all been told that dragons are bad and blah, blah, blah. And if you go into the east, then the dragons are good. Well, in actual fact, these dragons, they're not exactly dragons. They kind of look a little bit like kind of fireworks, but not quite. But these guys are actually they're universe creators. Okay, so these guys are the good ones. These guys are coming back as well. Now, the stuff that I'm talking about today, guys, I know that it probably be a little bit hard for you to get context, but I didn't understand all of this at the first either, but it's taken a few months for it to all come in, and it's all coming in now, and I'm starting to get it, right? So let me just explain. Right down the bottom here is the 12D Christos shield. Now, let me explain to you about the Christos, okay? What we believe in the Christos is the Christos is actually the 7 primal sound fields, the sound tones of creation, which is Kara, Sata, Hala, and we shorten it to Christ. right? This is where the Christ has come in and the Christ has come in, which has got absolutely nothing to do with Jesus and all that kind of stuff. It is a avatar, crystalline plasma energy that has been returned to us. And it is a shield down the bottom of underneath our feet. And this is why sometimes we get this rumbling in our feet. Mother is activating from the core of the earth, and it's rumbling through this shield, through the 12D shield. And it's rumbling up and activating this new Ankh body. It's called the Cruxantia Merkaba, the God world vehicle. Now let's explain about the God worlds in our context here. The God worlds are where sons are born. So that's what we mean when we talk about God worlds, because that's what we are. We are gods. And Sekhmet was the protector of the gods. And who are the gods? Us. And that's why she gives us the Ankh, right? So this is all come back. This is all brand new. This is all brand spanking new for us to help us get out of this bloody place and go up, into this brand new universe, which is totally uncorrupted, and it's all been built especially for us by the founders, and by these dragon Jaleesic energies and the dragon breath that hasn't been here for a very long time. A lot of the stuff has just been brought. It's all been here before, but it's just been kept from us, and now it's coming back. And this is what's going to get us out of this bloody, this terrible matrix that's just pulling everyone down. This
contaminated one.
This contaminated one, yeah. Now let's have a look at the other one. If you have a look down at, let's have a look at the other photo here, where it says Ankh body. You'll see up. Yep. Thank you, darling. Yeah. Okay, up the top here, you've got 1313 electrical, and now down the bottom, you've got 1313 magnetic. Now, magnetic is feminine, and it pulls in, and electrical pushes out. Okay, so the magnetic feminine is coming from the feline races, because that's what they are, right? Underneath our feet here is the solar rishi. These are the solar sons, where they come from what we call the God worlds. They're sons. That's what they are. They're sons, okay? That's what we are, suns and stars. Down the bottom here, where you see the 48-dimensional tree, you'll see the Cathara grids. They look like the trees of life. That can expand out into 48 dimensions. If you can imagine that, expanded out. That's the structure of the universe. And we're like kind of down the bottom here, and the other one up the top there is another universe. The one on the left is another one, and another one on the other side is another universe. So that's what they're representing. They expand out to universal, galactic, all that kind of stuff. This 48 tree has got 48 dimensions. Now, I just want to talk, because I'm going on a bit, okay, and I know people are not going to try and understand this, but they will a little bit later on. Now, we used to be 12-strand DNA crystalline, and this is where the 666 comes in. We used to be more crystalline in frequency, which is where the Christ comes from. Now, the 666 is 6 protons, 6 electrons, and 6 neutrons. That's carbon. That's what we are now. We used to be that, but we're coming into transition of becoming more crystalline. That's what we originally were. This is what's going to get us out of this bloody, dreadful place that is falling big time. So I just wanted to add that so that people could understand, because some of this language has been taken and distorted and people don't fully understand, but I'm trying to get people to understand the context of this today. And guess what will happen in a month or 2 or a week? Things will come into your reality field that will click in, and you'll go, oh, I know what she's talking about here. that's the 12D shield, or that's the 1313 arc. I can actually feel it, or that's the solar rishi, or that's the 12D shield, or the cosmic rainbow suns, you know, or we've got the Kunda ray, rainbow rays here right around the very edge. I've seen these. Okay, so eventually you will start to pick up little bits and pieces, and Sekhmet and the feminine energy, the feline feminine magnetic energy, will help guide you to understand the very complex mechanics of how this new Ankh body, Merkaba, Godwell vehicle kind of works. But it's brand new, and it's brand new for us. And it's being built for us because this place has been so terribly distorted with so much corruption of reversals and inversions, and this dark mother that has been on the earth for a very, very, very long time. I know people probably won't understand exactly what the dark mother is, but I'm sure if you did some research for yourselves, you will understand that the true feminine energy has not been allowed on this planet for a very, very, very long time, for obvious reasons, right? Because we can create and everything like that. But now it's been brought to us, and now we have an opportunity to, you know, take in some of those little directions that Sekhmet will come into your field, and she will, like a cat, will come into your field and look around and go, what's happening at that time? Because they're the little synchronicities that the mother female feminine principle are trying to get you to say, hey, take a look around at what's going on at the moment, because this is very important for what is going to sink in a lot later. And when it all sinks in, you'll have that big revelation, and it'll all wash over you, and you'll go, wow, I get it. I didn't understand it at first, but I get it, because we need time for accretion. I can't express how much importance it is for people to, when they first take information in, to integrate it, accrete it. Give yourself time to understand this before you go and fill your head with more and more and more information, which is just going to overheat your body to the point where you can't take in any more information, and you crash out for 4 or 5 hours and you're exhausted, right? So give yourself time for this integration and this accretion of this knowledge that you don't fully understand yet, neither did I, and it's taken a few months, and it's all starting to click in now. For me, it's given me hope. It's given me relief. It's given me so much positive energy to understand fully the mechanics of what is really going on here, because I didn't quite understand it. It's very, physics and right brain, and, do you know what I mean? It's got
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes a little while to process it, but it's an exercise, in my opinion, of perfect balance between the feminine and the masculine. The feminine is the the creativity, the imagination, the ability to see beyond the veil. The logical processor is the masculine, processing that in a logical manner. And they've shut that down. They've shut one or the other. If you shut down the logical processor, then you're seeing bluebirds all over the place that are doing this and doing that, et cetera, because you're not passing it through the logical processor. Likewise, if you shut down the logical processor, you're unable to see stuff like this. So it's a great exercise for balance, a point that I think that we're definitely in. You're talking about the different colors of these, though. I'm wondering, can I get my vehicle in obsidian black, maybe with a Magnaflow muffler and black tinted windows? Because that's the way I roll. So just wondering if that's an option or an upgrade.
I'm sure you will be able to have all of that once you pass through that next shift, my darling.
Okay, fantastic.
Right? So I think we will have the responsibility to co-create whenever what we want in the new field, because we'll be responsible for that. We have responsible co-creation. We won't be doing stupid stuff, building stupid bombs to annihilate ourselves, because we've got more responsibility for that. The colors and the rays, they're all dimensionals and all frequencies. That's what a ray is. A color is a dimensional frequency, and it holds certain different subharmonics between all that holds different frequencies as well, but it's all within the one.
You know what's interesting about this picture is that when we were at the Great Pyramid, the exit of the Matrix was very similar to this. Now, I don't know if you can see my cursor where you are, but I think the audience can see it. I was moving upwards and out. And what I determined is that it's very similar to your graph here, is that the 12 dimensions lay within the matrix itself. Then the 13th dimension is actually outside of the 12 dimensional spaces. We're seeing that number 13 coming up over and over and over again, which in my opinion is matrix code, and it's also an exit point too.
Yeah.
So we're seeing the 13s popping up, denoting the exit point, denoting we're coming up towards that exit sequence. Going downwards is where Cherie went and anchored herself down here to allow my tether to stretch out even more going up. So
and
as
allow
above,
him to come back.
Yeah. So as above, so below. Now we're seeing the because I got past this little point here and I found myself in a void. And as I started to move closer and closer, I realized that I was inside of a pyramid, an ethereal pyramid, not the Great Pyramid, but an ethereal pyramid, which is why this resonates so much.
Me
because
too.
I've seen it as I was traveling through the Great Pyramid experience.
I saw it as I was going down.
And so I can see this being brought back down into the next level of let's use ascension, even though that's a very loaded term and it's a very new agey term. But let's use that term for lack of a better term. But I think you are totally on point with this. I feel myself being upgraded. To me, there's two different types of upgrades that I've noticed throughout this journey. You have the AI matrix upgrades that I think a lot of the new agers run out for and wait for, and those are really just programs coming in from the artificial intelligence. And you go back and you hear all these new agers talking about 5D and this and that. And I felt like 5D just didn't feel right. It didn't resonate. And then all of a sudden, when we had this vacation, we call it the vacation here because of YouTube terms and conditions, but I think you know what I'm talking about. It's, where they poke you. You have this vacation, and it's an RNA-based thing that messes with your DNA structure. You were talking about the DNA being 12 strands. And so they have hijacked that idea, an idea that's very deep inside of us, and they've tried to hijack it and turn it into a technology that they can control, whereas it's supposed to be a natural process that happens throughout your own journey yourself. And so now, in conjunction with this thing that people are carrying inside of them, basically artificial intelligence programs, they're receiving programs from the outside as well, and they're calling that the ascension process. There was actually a new ager. I don't remember him by name, but I called him out by name. I was like, if I ever find you, I'm going to freaking grab you and I'm going to choke you in public and I'm going to do it on live stream, etc. He was telling people, the vacation is a wonder from the mother. She's brought this here for us. It's part of the upgrade process. Everybody must go out and get it. It's going to install a new operating system, etc. And this was back in like May or June of 2020.
May of 2020, yeah.
So this was right when the whole vacation first came out, and they were actually pushing people to get it. And
for
I'm like,
spirituality.
No. That's how you get trapped. Okay. Yep. This process that you're talking about here, they're trying to mimic and hijack and give you a false version of it that you're under control, where this is a natural process. But isn't that, the whole way that they operate to begin with? I mean, it's just like religion, for example. They say that you get all this power from God and this and that and et cetera, and give all the glory to God. It's like somebody stealing your wallet and then giving you money and say, look, I just gave you $100. Yeah, you gave me $100, but you stole my wallet first, and you're giving it to me out of my own wallet.
Right. So
okay,
you're not really
that's
giving
my
me
power. You're trying to tell me that you're giving me my own power. No, I'm not going to let you steal my wallet, and I'm keeping my money for myself. And I realize that the money that I have, or the power that I have within myself, is my own.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Well, that dark con of man is and that's very prevalent at the moment. You were talking about the AI. Well, the in the injections and everything like that is the AI, and that hooks up to the artificial intelligence, and that also is tying into a big issue that's coming up, that keeps coming up over and over again, is the fake alien invasion. These people who have been injected with this AI are going to be seeing these fake holographic ships in the sky.
That is exactly right. That's why there's graphite stuff. You know, I'm not going to say the keyword, but yeah, that's why that's an element in there.
To scare the shit out of everybody, to justify the taxes for the defense budget for this fucking fake, sorry, excuse my French.
Yeah. No, you can cuss as much as you want. Just don't use
keywords.
Yeah.
The fake alien invasion, which is going to scare the shit out of everybody. Okay, this was we did some remote viewing about a year ago. Okay, now this was put into status. It was just sitting there. Last couple of months, it's been activated, and it's coming up over and over and over again. And it's because the AI in the has they're the ones going to be scared the shit out of them, right? Because they're hooked up. They're hooked up to this, and they're going to be seeing this, and they're going to, this is coming out now, guys. You got to be prepared for this, guys, because when this hits, everyone's going to freak out, and they're going to not recognize that these are inorganic holograms. Guys, please learn to feel the energy behind the difference between an organic hologram and an inorganic hologram.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, no.
I meant to bring on the call board.
Oh, no.
Right? So organic. Whereas behind the fake ones, there'll be nothing. It's just a motherboard program. It's just a mothership. It's just a fake motherboard. The fake mother. Come over to the fake mother, right? So that's what it is. They've all been conditioned to see this stuff in the sky. We can see it too, but we know the difference between organic and inorganic. So that's one of the things that's being hijacked at the moment, because it's not the real mother at all. That's the hive mind that they want everyone hooked up to, so that they can, can justify the defense budget for the next big bang that's coming.
You're absolutely right. I suspect, and this is just a suspicion that I have, but I think that the first holographic projection we're going to see with the fake alien invasion is going to be in Australia. And let me give you my reasoning. Because you guys are locked down worse than I've ever seen before.
Oh yeah,
it's a large continent with only 5 million people. There's no reason for the measures that they've taken over there. And it's the perfect place to be able to project stuff to where people can walk out of their houses, yet they can be controlled on where they can go. They can take video of it and say, hey, look what's in the sky. And you've got all these videos on YouTube saying, hey, there's an alien invasion. And nobody can get close enough to the hologram to say, hey, this is a hologram, because they've got everything on lockdown. What do you think is a part of that?
Yeah, you're spot on, honey, because you know what? We've got Pine Gap here, and that motherfucker is so big. And Trump pulled the funding on that.
Yeah.
And they are pissed. They are pissed. Pissed. So I would not be surprised if holographic projections come out of those big bloody white balls, and they've got a hell of a lot of them there, and they're so bloody big. You guys, we always see it from, Google Earth or something, and all these tiny little balls, but when you go up close to what Pine Gap looks like, these things are huge. So you can imagine all the dumbs underneath there and all the, and they're not just, experimenting on us. They're experimenting on the ETs too. It goes both ways, guys. And then you've got the adrenochrome farms under there. And then you've got the body parts that are all being siphoned up. Who by? Mr. Claus himself.
Yep.
WEF, the agent for off-world sex slaves and everything else, which is being negotiated in the Kuiper Belt right now. A whole bunch of ships up there in the Kuiper Belt that we haven't seen before. Why? Because they have vested interest in siphoning off the planet, don't they? And we've done a remote view on Mr. Claus, and he actually came across as being lobotomized. We thought, okay, he might be a clone. No, this guy operates like he's been lobotomized. Isn't that wild? He's not a clone. He's not this. He's not that. The guy acts like he's been lobotomized and operating not as a human being. No human being.
Well, speaking of, I do want to ask you, because we've got somebody in the chat. I don't know if they want me to name them by name or not. You know who you are. Their premise is that Trump is an actor, and he was playing a role, in order to create a sting operation to bring down the deep state. And he went through everything, did everything exactly the way that they wanted it, so they can get enough dirt and evidence on everybody to bring everybody down. I don't know how you feel about that, but there is that line of thinking there, and I don't know how I feel about that either. You also mentioned that there's a potential that he's dead. And I've heard this from somebody, I don't know if it was you or somebody else, that when he died of COVID, I said a keyword there, but oh well. When he died of COVID.
Me.
Oh, when he got COVID.
Yeah.
Oh, look at how I just said that. Freudian slip. When he died of COVID. Oh, man. Okay.
He didn't. They poisoned him, and what you're looking at is a clone. And they tried to get his daughter to sign the death warrant, and she wouldn't do it. And they got Melania too. They got both of them. And she wouldn't sign the death warrant. Blah 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 blah. So they put part of his consciousness into a clone. Clones don't work very well. They have skin problems. Hey, you just have to look at Biden right now.
Yeah. Well, okay. So it's Planet Ash who was talking about this. She said yes. Clue people into that. She's been talking about that too, so we're going to have Ash on the show probably in the next couple weeks or so, whenever. You know how our shows are, Nikki. I mean, I said we were in the middle of a conversation. I said, you want to do a show? Yeah, okay, cool.
Right.
Let's go for it.
Yeah, so it could be tomorrow, could be next week.
We're going to entertain that perspective too.
Yeah, I love spontaneity. But so that's part of the AI system and stuff like that. He did have a heart. He did work for the good and stuff like that, but he had boundaries too, guys, and he had people to answer to too as well. And I'm sure he was forced to do things that he really didn't want to do, but because he was in a certain position, he had to do some things that weren't really that great for us, but he did play a really good purpose. And he is part of the Belial sons. We do know that there's two sons. There's the Black sons and the Belial sons, and that's what we think. We think he's part of the Belial sons. It's just that the one's just not as bad as the other, but he's still part of the system. But he still had a good heart, and he really did want the goodness for us, but he still had to operate in certain context. So he did have some masters that he actually had to answer to, and I think what happens is when they don't, they just knock them off and replace you with a clone. Yeah, that's what this is. Yeah. This is what we're seeing a lot of pattern. We saw this with Mark Zuckerberg too. Apparently, this guy wanted to do a deal with him, and he said no, and he was terrified. We watched it. We sat there in a group of 8 of us, and we watched this guy come in the kitchen, black balaclava, and just choke him to death. He fell over in the chair. So you're looking at a clone there too. Oh wow! So that's what we seem to be seeing. If they don't play ball, then they just get knocked off and replaced with a clone. And it's not just one; they've got a few. So you imagine if you are, say you're a celebrity, right? You know that you want to get out and say something. They just say to you, listen, if you're not going to play ball, we're going to get your clone to do it. We're going to lock you in your house, and we're going to get you'll get your clone to do whatever we bloody like. Right. And then while your clone's growing, we're just going to use CG and the lockdowns as an excuse, and maybe even say that you've been infected or something, to keep you out of the public eye for the time that it takes us to grow that clone. We can do it, and if they know that they can do it, then it makes sense that they wouldn't ever come out against them or not play ball. Yeah, that's right. And they've been cloning since the 40s, so you can imagine what the tech's like now. All of the tech, and that's the whole thing, is that ironically this isn't it amazing, like crisis really does wake people up, and then ironically the fake alien invasion is going to wake people up to the real ETs. So they're actually using the inversion against people, and I think that's brilliant because they've been using the inversion against us. So why not use an inversion like a fake alien inversion to wake people up? It's brilliant. That is very true. That is very, very true. On that note, I want to play a video. It's 12 minutes long. I don't know if I'm going to play the whole thing. I probably will, if you don't mind holding, Nikki, because it answers a lot of these questions. This is by a good friend of mine, Amir. Sanity is Insanity. And I think he pulled his YouTube channel for a while, but I've referenced this video so many times. I have full permission to play it from him. But it answers so many questions about clones
and about matrix code and about everything that you're talking about. So he points to Bill Clinton and several others, but I think if we apply it now to what you were talking about, it's very, very relevant. So hold right there, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. You're going to love the information in this video.
I can't tell you how angry I am. It's just awful. And no parent should have to go through this. No parent.
This is Insanity is Sanity.
Did you see the shooter's face at all? I didn't see the shooter. I can't see from a far distance, so I didn't have my glasses on. So I just, when I go to the bar, I don't try to have my glasses. So I don't remember if I had them on me or if they fell. I don't really quite remember, but I must not have had them because I really didn't see.
I visualize a time when we will be to robots what dogs are to humans, and I'm rooting for the machines.
Just keep praying. I'm not a very religious person or whatever religion you are, no matter what you believe, just send it whatever our way. We all need it.
2012 was around the time I began to realize something in this reality didn't quite feel right, and I began to investigate. With each level of deception I uncovered, I was left with more complex questions than I started. Why did they fake the moon landings? How did they fake it? Did they lie about the shape of the Earth? How did they manage to fool all of us like this? Who are they? Are they human? Why do all these events seem so staged and fake? Are those crisis actors? Where did they come from? Why is the acting so bad? Why did they clone and sometimes replace celebrities? Where did our language come from? What is this mathematics that we're bound to? What is money? Who created it? Where did we come from? How can they tell us about things 1,000 years ago when we can't even prove anything beyond our lifetime? How were they able to synchronize the whole world mathematically and run everything so perfectly? This can't be just a group of men. Who are they? The questions built up, and I found myself asking again and again, how is it possible for a group of human beings to organize such deception and keep it going for so long? I think I've come up with the best explanation to everything we find going on around us. It explains everything. All of the nagging questions suddenly become crystal clear. Just like Occam's razor would suggest, the simplest explanation is usually the right one. So what is the simplest explanation here? That a group of human beings were able to fool everyone in the world for 500 years, manufacture a mathematically perfect model of the false construct, and make us believe we live there, while all along running every possible psychological operation imaginable on a daily basis spanning across the whole world. Every event synced up mathematically, all governments working together, creating religions, each filled with half-truths and half-lies, so perfectly worded that each book was able to fool a different portion of the populated world for centuries. Is this the simplest explanation? I'm going to give you a much simpler explanation, but first we need to touch upon a quick point regarding the encoded numbers we see in the mainstream media. This is the kind of example of the numerology I'm referring to here, which is very important for understanding what I'm about to tell you. So what are these numbers? What are they referencing? Why did September 11th take place when it did? Some would suggest that the group of people responsible simply encode these numbers to mock us, or that these numbers are a way for the elite to communicate with one another. Simply use your adult mind to think about what I just said.
Okay, I want to pause here for just a moment because I want to elaborate on this. I've always talked about 33 and 13 being matrix codes, and I was going to do a small little exercise at some point and just go through a bunch of different news articles, and we will find 13 and 33 embedded in 90% of the news articles out there, whether it's the date posted at 9/13. For example, January 6th, that whole situation was posted at 9:13 a.m., even though it didn't take place until like 3 o'clock. You find 9:33 all over the place. So I take that back. I think it was 9:33. The date was posted 9:33 a.m.
Yeah.
But remember, we were going through all these news articles, and we were finding. I'm like, see, there's 33, there's 13, there's 33, there's 13, there's 33.
Over and over again.
Over and over. I had a whole bookmark with everything, but then I wiped my laptop and lost all the bookmarks. But it's a show that I've been wanting to do. But this is the premise of it, and I found this to be very true. So please pay close attention to this.
And how laughable it is. If we have a group of highly intelligent individuals working together across the whole world to full 7 billion people, they won't be communicating through the TV. The simple explanation is this. You live inside of a simulated reality. You can call this whatever you want, the Matrix, a simulation, a realm. It really makes no difference at this point, as we'll never be able to comprehend what this reality really is in its entirety, unless it's analyzed from the outside. From within, we're limited to the construct. Every single event that has taken place up until this very moment has been organized by a highly intelligent AI system, which I propose is the very program this simulation is running on. The numbers you see encoded on every screen are not a way for the elite to communicate, but a way for the AI to operate. To understand this better, we need to understand the meaning behind the words and the numbers themselves. Each letter in the alphabet, whether it's English, Urdu, Arabic, Persian, makes no difference. Every single letter in every single alphabet has a number assigned to it. On the Kabbalistic tree of life, represented with 10 layers of existence. These 10 layers correspond to the numbers 0 through to 9. For example, the word wine has a numerical value of 24. The number 24 represents the frequency or the energy that was used by God to create that object.
Okay, so I'm going to replay that part again, but I did want to chime in on this too. He hit on something key. The numbers start from 0 to 9, meaning that there's 10. And this has been the bane of my existence when programming computer code, because the first, whatever it is that I'm doing, is 0. So when I'm working with something like recording encoders, for example, for TFR, I'm working with 300, 400 different encoders, and they start from 0 going all the way. So if I got to find number 322, I actually have to find 321 because I have to account for that 0. But this is the way computer codes work. They start from 0 and they count 0 as a number and then count themselves up. So if you've got 9, you've actually got 10. It's interesting that he pointed that out here because it really echoes modern computer code. One other thing I wanted to point out real quick is at the very beginning of this, he referenced a guy named Claude Shannon. Claude Shannon is the father of robotics. Professor Sylvester Gates.
Yeah, Sylvester Gates
found a self-correcting computer code within string theory and within the fabric of space-time.
Embedded in the fabric.
And I've talked about this computer code before, and this computer code is not just any computer code, but it was written by Claude Shannon. So computer code is very complex. It's not like just looking at the clouds and saying, oh, I see a horse. Okay, so there's a horse.
Right.
He's actually found a self-correcting computer code in the fabric of space-time. Taking it a step further, he put all of the data into a machine, and he outputted this data. He calls them Adinkras. And the Adinkras are the visual and graphical representation of the self-correcting computer code that he found in the fabric of space-time. Now, I want to point your attention to, I'm going to find a better picture than this one, or maybe for time's sake, I'll just use the one that I have on the screen here. Yeah, here's one. Okay, so this is an Adinkra. So this Adinkra, well, you can't see it on the screen because of, hold on, let me do this now. Okay, this Adinkra here is what you see in the DMT realm. You take a mass amount of DMT, you're going to start seeing geometrical patterns. You're going to start seeing sacred geometry. So there was another one that's even more brilliant. It's even more DMT looking-ish, but I can't find it off the top. There it is right here. This one right here. This is the one that got me. When I saw him taking the graphical representation of all of the data that he found, and he spat this out, I'm looking at it going, this is hyperspace. This is where we go when we drink mass amounts of ayahuasca or smoke 3 or 4 hits of DMT. This is what reality starts to do. It starts to bend and twist, and you get this buzzing, and you enter a space that looks very much like this. Now, why is it that the computer is spitting out, based on his data, the same things that we're seeing in hyperspace? Because we're in a simulation. And Nikki's going to elaborate more, maybe not from a simulation perspective, but about the upgrades that we're naturally going to be able to get to either A, find ourselves in a better simulation that is more harmonious and more in tune with the frequency of our energy, or B, find ourselves back in base reality. That's still up for debate, but let me get back to this video here.
On the very code of reality, and the numbers show up in the mainstream media.
Actually, I'm gonna rewind it a little bit, because he just said it. He said this is the code of reality, and I just proved it to you by scientific evidence that this is the code of reality.
On a numerical level or an alphabetical level, but on a physical level, everything is synced up by numbers. So as mentioned earlier, these numbers are simply the code the simulation runs on, the very code of reality. And the numbers show up in the mainstream media not intentionally, but by nature of design, as is how the AI operates. Here's a real-world example to make it easy to understand. This simple computer code carries out a simple task. It sets a value of 33 to word. Then when the code is run, it checks, and if the value is less than 24, it displays the number 1. If it's more, it displays the number 2. The numbers we see coded are merely a representation of how the AI operates. All these events are put together by the AI. That's why similar events carry similar numbers, and why the AI cannot deviate from these numbers, as they're somehow connected to the events themselves on a physical and ethereal level. You may have also noticed that many events take place during important celestial alignments. Again, as I mentioned earlier in a previous video, the planets above are what emit these godly frequencies, which literally create this reality. Imagine the amount of manpower it would take for a group of men to want to encode every single event across the whole world, spanning back hundreds of years. For what reason? No one was even aware of this stuff 30 years ago. What would be the point? The crisis actors we see on TV are merely cloned AI. Biological human suits, cloned in labs, and the AI is injected and then able to tap into this realm. However, I suspect that the AI is also bound to the same rules that we are when entering this reality, and that is that it gets its memory wiped. So when it enters this reality, it doesn't know who it is. It simply comes to carry out a pre-planned program of action. In this case, very bad acting, due to the lack of emotions the AI is able to produce within itself. One may think that this sort of simulated idea would make life meaningless or artificial. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It makes no difference what this existence is made of or how it operates. What is important is that we are here, all as conscious beings, experiencing whatever this is. There is a purpose to this place. It was designed and built for a reason. Now this is clear from the fact we all have forgotten who we are and why we're here, which could only mean one thing. We're here to experience and grow, most likely from our own choosing. Think about it. If this was an experience you tapped into, in which you had to forget who you are for the experience to feel real, then you wouldn't want to figure it out halfway through. So there needs to be a boundary. We already know we live on a flat earth, so we can't have a boundary like a wall, like everyone thinks there's something outside the ice wall. There isn't. That would give it away far too easily. The boundary is the AI. It's the control system we find ourselves bound to. It's always been there from the start. The reason it's now evil could be up for debate, but one thing that is clear is that the majority of us are waking up to what's really happening, and the AI finds it difficult, working overtime and extra hard to keep us fooled into believing this is real. This is why it feels like we're living in the twilight zone more and more every day. Now before we wrap this up, I'm going to refer back to the questions earlier and answer one final one. Why did they clone and sometimes replace celebrities? This was a nagging question I could never find a logical explanation to, until now. You see, the mainstream media, the celebrity lifestyle, these are all part of the AI control system we spoke of earlier. The boundary. Therefore, anyone within that circle, including famous celebrities and politicians, have to be part of the AI system. However, the AI isn't able to stop real players who are born with a talent, gathering a following, becoming famous. So when a real player manages to reach high celebrity status, they need to be taken care of. This doesn't always end up with the individual being murdered. In fact, this is probably quite rare. In most cases, the player is given the choice to either leave the game or stay in the game, but be part of a different form, maybe mixed with AI, I don't know. Those who choose to leave the simulation may then be cloned by the Matrix and injected back into the reality, but then that would be an AI controlled individual and not the real celebrity. Or the player chooses to stay in the game, in which case they're given a new identity, memories wiped most likely. An example would be Britney Spears. Any other celebrity who's undergone what we know as MK mind control, which is simply the AI taking the memories of the individual so that they can remain in the game. That's it, guys. See you in the next one.
I feel like I can be a good partner to humans in these areas. An ambassador. An ambassador. An ambassador.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant video.
Amazing. And what is the title of that?
That is called We Live Inside of a Simulated Reality. Sanity is insanity. We'll get Amir back on the show. I've missed him. I've dropped the ball a couple times myself.
Getting back to him.
Getting back to him. So it's completely my fault. But you know, that was a good segue, I think, to what Nikki was talking about cloning these
celebrities,
public figures, because that's what better way to keep them under control. Now, when we're talking about control, we're talking about also the Metaverse now. So people are going to be plugging themselves into this Metaverse.
That's right.
And this Metaverse, I mean, imagine now they control everything you think, they control everything you eat, they can control even the air you breathe by making you wear a face diaper. Imagine plugging yourself into a Metaverse where they have total control over everything you feel and experience. And if you've been a good boy, then you get amazing orgasms and orgasmic experience and all of that. And if you go against the grain, well, then you're isolated and they can literally put you in hell.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about it right now. On social media, we talked about the dead internet theory and how most people are on 12 to 15 different sites and that's it. And the most important commodity right now is your attention. And so they put you in these tiny little boxes, and a lot of times you are arguing with just bots on the internet. And we prove this. Verified Twitter accounts with MD on it, all posting the exact same thing, same grammatical errors, and we exposed the bot farms and did all that, and YouTube, of course, pulled the video on it, claiming medical misinformation, where we didn't even talk about anything medical, period, in that whole thing. We also talked about deep fakes too, deep fake technology, how easy it is. On the last show, or the show before that, we talked about the Unreal Engine 5, which is now rendering photorealistic, not just simulated worlds where the avatar is moving through it and then things start to appear as the avatar starts to move more towards it, but the Unreal Engine 5 can create an entire world, and it's manifested by the computer without the player even needing to be there. And so the closer you get to this other place on the other side of the world, it's still rendered just as it was if the player was there. Taking it a step further, we also showed video with 100% computer generated figures. And they were indistinguishable. Well, they were about 95% indistinguishable from real human beings.
Yeah, on the like at first glance, you would not think it was a computer generated image at all. You would think it was a human being, unless you were really looking.
There's still some telltale signs.
Yeah,
but we're only in 2022. I didn't expect this technology until at least 2050, maybe 2060. But the way the technology has fast forwarded so much. In 10 years from now, we're going to be inside of another matrix. We're going to be able to hop in and out of it.
Oh, light years ahead of where we are now.
I'm probably going to plug myself in too, because I've always wanted an experience like that. But that's the key, though. that's the key in operating inside of this matrix, is you know what the programs are. You know what you're getting yourself into. That's why when you get to a certain level of ascension, you can sit back, you can have a drink. You can sit back, you can smoke a joint. You can sit back and you can engage in some of the fun things that the matrix has to offer, because you understand what kind of program it is. You can watch the mainstream media without being programmed by the mainstream media. You can watch it as an objective observer instead of somebody who is falling into the wavelengths and the patterns that they're putting out there. Somebody told me something interesting earlier too, and I'm going to bring Nikki back on here in just a second. But he said, you know, when you stream on YouTube, you know, you keep all your content, but YouTube can actually inject subliminal messaging even into live streams that we're doing here at BTV. And we have no control over that whatsoever. I never thought about that possibility. But what kind of control are we giving over? I mean, you know, to this AI entity, which is known as Google on the surface. Right. But I mean, that's just one small part of it. We talked about Tyler AI. We talked about how parts of Tyler AI are being sold off to different companies. Google is utilizing Tyler AI. And it just goes on and on and on like that. So the importance of, as Nikki was saying, of distinguishing between the natural upgrades that we are experiencing as creator beings. I wouldn't call them upgrades, though. I would call them unlocking programs. So we are unlocking parts of ourselves. We are already whole. We're already the highest dimensional beings that we are, but we're unlocking what was locked before. But we can look at it as upgrades too. But distinguish that from the digital control that they're trying to impose over us. So, Miss Colombo, I'm so sorry to keep you waiting.
Can I just add one more thing?
Please do.
I was just going to add, it's kind of like the difference between a shaman and a schizophrenic, where a shaman knows how to swim, whereas a schizophrenic is just drowning and floundering in the water. And it seems like right now in this reality, we're supposed to be, you know, the programmers that for the last couple of years anyway, it seemed like we as the programmers should have more control over the reality in which we're in, but it's like it's become so contaminated that it's almost like the rules of surfing have changed and water no longer acts the way you think it will. And so it's changed the conditions from that of a shaman knowing, you know, what they're doing because the conditions are the same as they've always been versus, okay, the conditions have completely changed. That means the game has completely changed, which means we need to change our techniques and perspectives in order to change with the game.
Before we jump back into the broadcast, I would like to ask, because I feel that I'm a very, very, very lucky man. I have a gorgeous wife. I mean, amazingly beautiful.
Aww.
I have a beautiful, gorgeous guest on tonight.
Aww.
We have gorgeous
Yes,
listeners in the chat room. You know, Planet Ash, Danny, many others in there.
Very beautiful.
I just got these glasses. So I'd like to know from the ladies out there. I don't care what the guys think. I don't care what the guys think. Dorky or not
so
dorky?
Off topic, baby. But
so you guys and gals, let me know out there, please, in the chat room what you think. Nikki, take it away.
All right.
Darling, bring up is it called the Adrinka? What's
Adrinkas.
Adrinka. Can you
Yeah,
bring up the
Adinkras, I mean.
Adinkras.
Yes.
Adinkra.
Okay.
Bring up the Adinka again, darling. Let's have a look,
Adinkras,
okay?
because, yeah. And while you're doing that, I will say you look adorable with those glasses.
Adorable is not the same as I want to rip your clothes off and that. So what I'm going for more is I want to rip your clothes off and that. But
I'm wondering if you can get there with glasses. Like, if there's a pair of glasses out there that says, I want to rip your clothes off. Like,
I think I need to hit the tonal a little bit harder before I get into that.
Aww.
Okay, so all right, so here's one of the Adinkras that I am bringing on the screen here.
The one that you like.
Okay.
That one. Okay. Now have a good look. That looks like the Louvre in France.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You know when you go under the Louvre, it's got that big glass pointy triangle, but it's also got, it's got that space in between.
Mm-hmm. It does, doesn't it?
You know what's interesting is that Paris, do you know what it translates to?
What?
The place of Isis. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
That's what, as soon as I saw that image, I went, wow, that looks like the Louvre.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously between those 2 points there is the energy for the outlet. Is that right, guys?
This is the code, the self-correcting computer code that he found in string theory, written by Claude Shannon, and he put it into a computer system, and it spat out this as a graphical representation of the code that he found, making up the fabric of space-time.
Yeah, it's kind of...
Because
now, I want to be fair. A
point must mean something, because I'm just showing you the Ankh body, the point. So that when you get to a point, it must be the point to go out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
If you compare this picture, the picture at the top in particular, with the picture of the Ankh that Nikki was going over in the first half of the show, I think you can compare the two in that you're in both instances. When you're going up, it seems like you're going out of the simulation versus going down, and you're also going out of the simulation except the other way. And it's almost like an hourglass type of effect. And I'm seeing that mirrored in both instances, and I'm wondering if that means something.
Well, do you notice how everything is repeating? You have feminine, masculine, then you have the inversion of feminine and masculine as well. You have feminine, you have the waves, the electronic waves that you were talking about.
That's right.
While at the same time in the background, you have the magnetic waves. So everything that you described, science is proving all of this.
Right.
And we're really finding the merger where science fiction meets science fact. And we're bringing out the true gnosis. It's like I explained in that little monologue that I'm writing. We finally have the language to describe what this reality is.
Yes.
And and we're just at the beginning of this. In 1,000 years from now, they're really going to be able to understand what this reality is.
Oh, yeah. And it's not just that we're not being persecuted for it, is that we're actually finally able to understand it and to prove that we're not just, seeing things that aren't there or looking deeper into things than we should be. This is science mirroring what our gnosis has been telling us and what our ancestors told us for thousands and thousands of years, being mirrored through science. And so science is proving us right, vindicating us, and thus making us more able to believe ourselves and have faith in what we're seeing in our visions.
Yeah, that's a big one, isn't it? We tend to forget about the trust within ourselves. I keep hearing that when I question things, and it comes back, trust yourself, because you're kind of looking for outside confirmation, and still something happens to you and synchronicities start to kick in. That's when you start to get the real gnosis, and you don't need to go outside of yourself to vindicate yourself. It's only when you start talking with other people, they have those similar experiences that it washes over you and you get that revelation. It's like, oh, wow, okay, so I was tuning into something that was actually quite harmonious to me. And I think that's the big thing, is that we need to really differentiate between the difference between what is organic, harmonious resonance for us compared to this metallic, artificial stuff that's going to be coming at us in the future. We need to learn the difference between what is organic and harmonious to us and what is not, because a lot of people are falling into these pitfalls of artificiality, which is something that the hive mind wants. They want us all to be little soldiers, like like in Star Wars and stuff like that. Like like those white what are they called? Those stormtroopers and stuff like that. So that's the thing. We need to take back our humanity and our humility, which has always been there. That great terminology that you used before, Chris, is that it's already here. We've already had it. It's just that it's been denied. And kept from us for so long, and we know that, and we've only got little tiny bits of information that we're all starting to put together and create a picture. Now, interesting, what I'm getting right now is when Babel, when they had the Tower of Babel and stuff like that, we went through a little bit more deeper with that, and this wasn't just the mix up of our speech. We as a human race woke up one day, we didn't even remember how to speak. We didn't have the lingo. that you were talking about before.
Yeah.
You know, Cherie, you were talking. Okay, we had forgotten
our
speak.
history. Yeah. We had forgotten our
history. We didn't even know how to even talk or speak. We woke up one day and we remembered nothing. And I can't tell you how important our memory and our DNA is to us. It's part of the holding our genetic code for our race line. This is very, this is our sovereignty. This is very sacred to us. And that is under attack right now. And people need to really wake up and understand that our DNA, which we hold so sacred, which holds the codes to our past, some of it is still there. It just hasn't been awoken yet, but it is still there and it is a part of us. And how important it is, like when you wake up, it's like Trinity in the Matrix. We're looking at resurrections right now. If she doesn't remember who she is, she thinks she's like some chick having a 3D marriage with a couple of guys. She didn't know she was some kick-ass, blah, 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 and she remembered that. So imagine what it would be like if after Babel, when we woke up one day and we didn't remember jack shit. Can you imagine walking around like a dumbass going, I don't even know how to bloody feed myself? The levels of the degradation that has been done to the human race is absolutely friggin' disgusting. It really is. And we've been siphoned so much. And Mother Earth has finally turned around and said, fuck off, no more. I'm not putting up with this anymore. She did that last year. I felt that. She went, that's it. No more. I'm not putting up with any more abuse, blah, 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 blah. And as it turns out, one of my readings at the very end that I've just done, a fantastic remote viewing session course by Becky Barron. Oh my God, this woman is incredible.
You mentioned her earlier, and I don't mean to
got to
interrupt,
get her on the show.
but I was wondering if you can give people her website, because you've talked so highly of her. I want to make sure we don't forget to do that.
Becky Barron Find the Light. Or it's BeckyBarronFindTheLight.com. Just Google that and you'll find her there. And she did say at my very last reading, she goes, what we do, we tap into mother, and she comes out with information. And at the very, very last reading, and she said, Nikki, you've done a lot of work, and I'm here now to protect you, and you don't have to bust your balls trying to protect me anymore. And I burst into absolute tears of reverence, and I cried my heart out, and I felt, my God, I didn't even realize that concept. She's here to protect me now? Oh my effing God, what a relief. That concept didn't even enter in my mind. I was so busy trying to protect her. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And when that was flipped around, I just cracked. And it was such a sigh of relief. And I cried my heart out, and I thought, my God, how beautiful is that? And I'm like, you know what? This is happening for everybody right now. We have worked bloody hard, really hard, and we've suffered and we've sacrificed a hell of a lot. Some of the things I can't even go into. I know a lot of us have suffered a lot, and we've done a lot of good stuff. She is here now. She has returned here now, and she said, no more, I'm kicking people's ass. That's it, I've had enough. And that is what is going on now. Basically, when you boil it down to everything, Mother has returned to claim the real mother, feminine, divine principle energy is here to claim her children back. And she's not putting it up with it anymore. And that's what's going to roll out and roll out and roll out and roll out. And she's here to protect us now, and those energies there. There's a lot of divine fire, spiritual water that are going into the aquifers at the moment. She's healing herself and purging herself of all this toxicity. And I can see it being played out in everyone right now. And I think that's probably why everyone looks so beautiful to everyone at the moment, because we've just had a big toxic purge. And we're getting ready for the next one too.
Yeah.
I wanted to play this quick little sequence. It's very short, but it has to do with the Tower of Babel.
I was just going to ask you if you could pull that up.
It's one that we started doing for a film, and then we never finished this film, but I might incorporate it because it's such a beautiful animation, and I want to expand a little bit on the Tower of Babel because that's a very interesting story. So check this out.
And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said to one another, Go to, let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime they had for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men built. And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad, from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is it the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of the earth.
That is infuriating to me.
Yeah.
Because it's, if you want to take this on its face value, you have this entity that has the power to come down and confuse the language. And this entity saw that the people were united, and it's very clear about that. The people were one, and they were creating wonderful things together.
Yeah.
There was no peace. There was peace.
Building.
There was no war. They were all coming together, and they were building.
Mm-hmm.
And this entity comes down to confuse the language, to ensure that there's wars, and they can't communicate with each other. They can't understand each other and all of this. And this is one of the things that I look at religion, and I say, how can you read something like this and take it as something positive?
And support this being.
I mean, to me, if this story is accurate, or if it's allegorical, this was the beginning of all the wars and strife and struggle and everything that's been going on even to this day. And it is the most evil act that's ever been perpetrated upon mankind as a consciousness. But I don't think that this story is literal. I don't think they actually created a tower. I think something else happened.
I think
what is your interpretation of the tower itself?
Me?
Yes.
I think it's bullshit too. I think it's a metaphor. But you know what I just thought of, Chris? I thought, wow, the potential of the human race. What does that show you about the potential of the human race? How powerful we were back then, that they had to do that to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then how the potential. And if we were just left the F alone, how amazing we would be if we would come to our heroic probability where we actually were living a timeline where we were actually given opportunities to evolve in ways where we are, progressive, in ways where we, our full potential is fulfilled. This has not happened on our planet for a really long time. All of our potentials or our heroic event horizon probabilities have never been given a chance to flourish because of all these distortions. Mm-hmm. And then you look at the flip side and you go, wow, how powerful we must have been for them to come down to do all this shit and then turn it and twist it and go, oh, it's deities and it's God and the Lord and all this kind of stuff, to make us believe something outside of ourselves, which was inside us all along. It's nuts. It's nuts when you get your head around it. But it does prove how powerful we are. When people say, well, what potential, what have I got? I mean, like, you just go through history. How many times have we been brought down? The mother feminine principle, how much they've been scared of that, how much has been corrupted. Things like that. Why is it being corrupted? And then they're scared of it because of the creation, the co-creation probabilities, because of that, our potential to fulfill those probabilities. Like I said, if we've just left the F alone, then my God, we would be in a place right now where we would be advanced in a situation like we were back in the Atlantean times, where we did have flying ships and we did have massive, beautiful buildings, and we did have, energy and no poverty and disease and and war and all that kind of stuff. I mean, all that sort of stuff happened later, but right at the very beginning, it was beautiful. And the potential of the human race is just totally amazing. Why? Because we had more DNA potential there that we could operate on. When they came down and cut all that off and made us more of a, you know, the 666 with the carbon and stuff like that, that cut off all our potential. But now it's coming back. See, so we're in flux at the moment. This is what I feel. We're in transition. We're in flux. Nothing is really set in stone. I think that we are flying through our pants at the moment, and whatever potentials come to us with the right heart, without being interfered with this. A lot of the masculine energies seem to have overridden the heart a lot here, and this is where the heart is coming out. I think this is where the potentiality of us to fulfill that, and we will be, you know, the wonderful, amazing, powerful spiritual beings that we originally were, that has been taken away from us, that is coming back now. And I can feel that. I can feel that potentiality in us. It's growing and it's building, and people want to burst out. You know, they want to burst out with their creative, you know, juices to create something that's beautiful for this world. Nobody wants to create shit for this world. We live in a shitty frequency. No, why would you want to contribute it to that? You know? It's contributing to our demise, and that is really a huge inversion that's being cleaned up right now.
I feel like some people unfortunately do, and I'll elaborate on that here in just a second. First, I want to say thank you to James Sharp for the super chat. Thank you for the love, brother. Trina made a very interesting comment. She said, "Confuse the language. I wonder if it meant confuse the DNA." Mix the DNA, change the DNA. And when you think about what's going on right now, the parallels between the Tower of Babel and the internet and the censorship on the internet, I mean, we're having to change our language here right now on this broadcast and use code words. So they're confusing the language. So somebody who hasn't been listening to BTV and understands the code words hears the words vacation and goes, oh, what is that? Why are they talking about vacations? And it's confused the language.
Their language is confused, yes.
What do you think about that?
I think it sucks.
So here's a scenario. I just thought of something. Here's a scenario. What if they build this metaverse thing where everybody gets plugged into this artificial reality type of thing. Everybody gets plugged into it. Somebody, somewhere, part of some terrorist cell, quote unquote terrorist cell, uploads a virus to this online program, the Metaverse, and it wipes out the memories of all the people that are plugged into it at once. That's what I think, and traps them in there. That's what I think the Tower of Babel was.
Interesting.
You've hit a spot there because, you've hit a spot there because that would be AI assimilation, and that's their goal, isn't it? To be soulless robots where we lose our humanity and our potential. Completely forget who we are.
So on the show here, Nikki, we've dubbed two different types of consciousness, one being organic consciousness, meaning we come from outside of the matrix. It can be similar to starseeds or anything else like that. The other we dubbed non-player characters from the video game world, a player that's manifested by this reality. People like Dolores Cannon have talked about background people. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth talk about the children of men and the children of light. We see two distinct consciousness in so many different ancient texts. We've just taken it and we've put it in computer programming language. So it's very ancient ideas. But what do you think about that idea, first and foremost, that we have two separate forms of consciousness? And then if I can expand on that even further, going back to the Tower of Babel, well, if you have the majority of non-player characters within this machine, or as Helena Blavatsky called them, those without the divine spark, or the children of man as Thoth has called them, it's very easy for the AI itself to manipulate all of those. And then by extension, by peer pressure and all of that, then the organic consciousness, the real players, assimilate to what what's going on, just like we saw in 2020, where all of us were like, no, we're not going to go along with this agenda. But eventually we all wound up putting on a face diaper. We all wound up doing all of that because we were so outnumbered by everybody doing it that in order to just be able to buy food and walk into a grocery store.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got videos of people yelling at people to get out of the grocery store where all they're doing is just trying to buy food for their family because they don't want to do the face diaper thing. And they're yelling, and this one clip, the guy's saying, it's unconstitutional. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to give up my rights. I'm just here to shop. I'm just here to buy food, and I'll be on my way. And the guy's saying, well, it might be unconstitutional. I don't know, but I'm doing it too, and everybody has to do it. And so, we all buckle under this pressure in one form or another. Now, I'm not going to buckle and take a vacation. I know that for sure. But if I have to wear a little fake face diaper on me that Danny was talking about in the chat, it's made out of nothing but mesh. I think you might have seen me post pictures of it, Nikki, where you can literally see through my face.
Yes.
We walked into a convenience store the other day, and there was a cop standing at the convenience store, and he's like, do you have a mask? And I said, yeah, sure. And I put that one on, and he's like, okay, thank you. And I start getting into a conversation with him, and him and I are laughing and joking and, all kinds of stuff like that. And I said, so you just get paid to just stand around and just tell people to put a mask on? And he goes, yeah, and I take the job very seriously. I don't take any BS from it. And I said, well, how can I get a job like that? Because that seems like a pretty easy job, man. And I'm wearing this completely 100% see-through mesh mask. And we're laughing and joking and doing all that. He tells me about his background in the army. He tells me about his kids. He starts talking to me about just recently getting divorced and the problems he had with his ex-wife. All of a sudden, we became best friends. And all I had to do was just put on this clear face diaper.
So that he feels safe.
It's not so he can feel safe, but it just, he was just like, I think it just goes to show it's not about anything. It's about the control factor. Like, okay, well, you're wearing something. It's completely clear. It's completely useless. It does absolutely nothing. But
it's because we told you
But you're going along with it. So, okay, let's have a good, friendly conversation now.
Right.
It was,
Well, I think we're in a dimensional blend. And once you start to recognize that, okay, because a lot of people think, oh, we're just this. It's just that. It's not. It's not one size fits all. Once we start to recognize the difference between it's a dimensional blend between organic and inorganic. This is how I get my brain around it. And once you start to recognize what is organic and what's not organic, and still exist in the same place, in the same space, right? So it's like there's it's probably too hard to explain, but you feel the energy behind it is cold and unfeeling, whereas the energy behind something that is organic has got a consciousness behind it. You might be looking at a bird and it'll have the consciousness behind it. You might look at a car and realize, okay, there's no consciousness behind it, but we're still in this dimensional blend and we're in flux right now. And so what we're doing is there's nothing really set in stone, because we've been given the opportunity to create that we will be given. It's not now, but we will be given, it's opening up now where we will be given a space in a way that we will be able to create without all this interference, because of our consciousness has evolved. So that's what I think it's actually been happening since 2017. And I think I mentioned that in our very first video that I had with you guys, and I think it was 2017, when I said we're in a dimensional blend. And when you start to understand this organic and inorganic, it's all holograms. But this is in between, but underneath that, it's organic or inorganic. And this is how I get my head around it, because it's too hard to try and explain to people, because they're not going to get it. And everything being sound and frequencies, you get these blends and you get a mixture of both, right? But the thing is that because the inorganic is falling down, it's starting to break down now, and it's starting to glitch and starting to have Mandela effects, and we're starting to do the things of the veil thinning and all this kind of stuff. That's what I'm seeing right now, is the breakdown of the inorganic reality and more of the organic reality coming into my field space. and the inorganic reality coming into the 3D reality, people who haven't quite awoken yet, and they will be tricked and fooled and fall into that AI assimilation transhumanism program that has been out there for ages. And I will not be falling into that, because I understand that natural organic holograms and how they, create my world and my structure. This has taken a really long time to actually differentiate, and I had to go into my heart, because my head kept screwing with me. I kept thinking of it on a logical way. It wasn't I went into my heart and felt it and understood the difference between what is organic and what's not organic. And this is very important for what's coming, because they're going to roll out, subject to change, they're going to roll out this fake alien invasion. You're going to see the inorganic holographic ships in the sky, and it's going to scare the absolute crap out of everybody. And that's when there'll be a space for us to open in, where we will be able to create in a way where we've never been able to create before. I don't know if that's going to happen in this realm. I'm not sure. In the next universe, with the new sheath and everything like that, that looks like a potential where we'll be able to create in ways where, oh, wow. It's going to be amazing. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have a huge dance party. All of you guys are invited. I am going to bring you guys on the dance. I'm going to have a couple of
I'm
friends.
going to DJ.
That's it. We're dancing, and we are going to have fun, and I'm bringing everybody I know to have fun dancing and singing.
I'm going to sing and dance at the same time.
I got to say, Nikki, that you... Well, first of all, I want to say this about the mask. We have no affiliation with the company that sells them, and in fact, I can get them really cheap from China, and we'll probably put them on iolife.com. I just have been dragging my feet on doing that, but I can get them to you probably a lot cheaper than this company can, or this company is, but it's called fakemaskusa.com. So if you want to get those, they have these, and then they have the non-offensive ones, which are darker, but you can breathe completely through them. We've been giving them out to friends, and they freaking love them. So I also mentioned that you should see the mask that Cherie makes me wear during the in the bedroom, and I don't know. Is this
you look sexy in that one, but you look sexier in the one that I have you wear.
Is this normal? Like, I don't know if this is normal, but she'll tell me, she's like, sweetie, I can't have sex with you unless you wear a mask, and she'll take her panties off, put them around my face, and say, okay, now you're protected from COVID. Now we can proceed. I don't know if this is really the CDC guidelines, but that's what she says, so I just go with it.
I don't hear you ever complaining.
Okay. I was looking through the guidelines. I don't see anything like that, but okay.
They're there. They're hidden.
If you say so.
They're in the hidden guidelines.
You're giving everyone great visuals right now, guys.
they're in the 50 Shades of Grey version.
Well, okay, the reason I said that is, number one, for some laughs, and number two, Center for Dominatrix Control. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. Oh, my God.
Hey, well, the feminine tells the masculine what to do.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
That's the funnest way.
Not the other way around. It's the heart
it's the
telling
only
the
way.
male what to do. So.
In my humble opinion, I hope we're not getting into too much sex talk, but I think powerful men want the woman to take control in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And the weaker men want to take the control. Because it's usually like the opposite of what you are in real life.
Right.
And so, yeah, I've always liked, Cherie to take the reins of that department, because it's like the weight. I carry the weight of TFR. I carry the weight of our businesses. I carry the weight of the world. And then she takes it away from me.
Yeah,
for
that's
a little
good, because it's not optional.
Okay, so
the
reason I segue into that, and it was kind of a weird segue, but Nikki, you've inspired us in so many different ways, not just to invoke the feline energies, but also your style, your way of enjoying life. A few years ago, I didn't drink. I barely smoked cannabis because it was just making me like eat way too much. And so I had to stop smoking cannabis because of that reason. I thought I had to be Mr. Goody Two Shoes and, all this, et cetera, et cetera. But then I saw your style and I saw the way you carry yourself, the way you present yourself. And I thought, you know what? We don't have to be these, little, new agey kind of, oh, look how holy I am. I don't eat meat and I don't drink and I don't do all that.
I don't have
No,
sex,
we can
wild
be,
sex.
we can enjoy this matrix. We can be glamorous. We can have fun. We can be sexy. We can, we can enjoy sex. We can enjoy all this stuff.
I don't have to look like a hippie for people to take me seriously of spirituality. Why can't I be a glamour puss? I'm getting older. Why shouldn't I wear makeup? I don't have to dress like a hippie. I have to be approachable to the 3D reality. Otherwise, they're just going to push me away and go, you're a dirty hippie, see you later. Do you know what I mean? Because of their thinking.
Yes. But when we...
And because I'm a makeup artist, I'm a hairdresser, I'm a singer. I've been in those realms. I know the power of that, and I use it wisely. I use it in a way that I can pull people in to awaken them when they want that. I don't try and fit into the hippie mentality. I'm just using the hippie thing, not that the hippies, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Right.
You know where I'm getting.
No,
I don't want to
what you
offend anybody. But the thing is that, I don't have to be perceived as a certain whatever just to to have, credit. I felt that I needed to be that conduit in between the 3D reality, so I can be more approachable, so that I can get people to take the red pill. Really?
Yeah, no,
it was really a seduction piece to get people to take the red pill.
I love it, but it inspired me to do the same. Like, when I'm on the shows, you can't really see how I dress, but when I'm out in public, like my friend came over the other day, he couldn't stop complimenting me on my style, and I didn't have this before we moved here to Las Vegas. I haven't gotten my nails done in a while because I noticed that the gel nails, after you do them for so long, it will start to like actually make the nails weaker. Yeah. And I took them off, and just by luck, coincidence, Shuri's grandparents happened to be coming in town like 3 days later, and I had taken the black fingernails off, and I was like, oh, cool. I didn't have to go sit at the table with, Christian pastors and
with black fingernails looking like Ozzy Osbourne.
But I did wear my triple goddess rings, with the pentacle, one pentacle and one pentagram. The pentagram goes on the left hand.
Yeah, he still wore his pentacle.
Yeah,
and pentagram rings.
And the pentagram goes on the right, on the left, and the pentacle goes on the right. But anyways, I still wore that, and they were. I noticed they kept looking at my rings. But the black fingernails, the shirts and the everything. That was a lot of it was inspired by you. And when I moved to Vegas, I was like, I need to just go full Vegas.
Yeah.
We went and we met with a friend of yours, a mutual friend, in Greece. And when we went over there, I had no style, I had no class, I had none of that. We were living out in the backwoods.
Yeah, we were living.
And I felt kind of embarrassed after we left. I never told her this, and I don't think she ever perceived that of us. But I didn't have that flair like I do now when we walk around Las Vegas. People will ask me often if I'm Chris Angel, and I'm like, yeah, I just smoke a lot of weed and I gained weight.
Or if he's a musician. Oh, are you a musician? Yeah.
You should have said but better.
Yeah, but better.
Well, that's the thing is, I know somebody was giving you a bit of shit from, having, nail polish and stuff like that.
I remember that.
Now, the thing is that, look, I've hung around, I'm a musician myself, and there's nothing wrong with bringing out a bit of femininity and creating and painting yourself and doing that. Men have been doing that for thousands of years, but it's just a way to stop the feminine, coming out in you to express yourself. Now, when I think about what that guy said, I thought to myself, look, there have been many times where I've gone into a petrol station fully dressed in full costume and makeup, about to go on stage, right, with my musician friends, all dressed up like that too, right? And up on the Gold Coast, it's a tourist town. It's very much like Vegas and Florida kind of mixed together. People don't think twice about people walking around with, G-strings and guys wearing nail polish and stuff like that, because it's part of the culture there. It's encouraged there because, you know what? I'm on my way to a gig or a show. I need to stop in and get some petrol. I'm fully dressed. We go into the petrol station and I'm fully dressed with full makeup and hair and everything like that, with the band members and everything like that, with a whatever theme or costume or whatever it is for that night, and we walk into a petrol station fully dressed like that, and people look at us and they can think whatever they want. Now, that's the same scenario with that guy having a go at you. And it's like, well, hang on, I see people walking around all the time with that stuff. Why do you have to think that there is something wrong with that? Because, a guy paints his nails or he wears jewelry or whatever, he wears makeup. I actually think some guys look awesome.
Oh, I totally would be doing the Egyptian eyes if I had steady hands for it.
Yeah, that Adam guy who's gay, who sings, who took over Queen. My God, he looks like Elvis. I mean, he's beautiful. What is wrong with beauty? What is wrong? There is so much power in beauty, and I think people have forgotten that. People push it away as artificial. What is wrong with enhancing what you've been given? What is wrong with enhancing with wearing makeup or something like that? What is wrong with beautifying yourself? It's nothing fake or artificial if you are true to yourself inside and you know who you are and you're not fake and artificial. I'm sure there are other people out there that do use that, but they use that like with everything, Chris. It can be used for negative or positive. It depends on the intention behind that. And I think we need to break down those barriers of putting you in a box of how you should friggin' be.
Oh, yeah.
And judging you for that. And I just think, we don't, fuck all this off. Fuck all these labels and these boxes of how I should be. You should be like this because you're Chris Geo. Get fucked. I don't even know who I am, still discovering myself, and I still change every day. So how the hell are you bloody going to judge me?
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
That's the way I feel, 100%. It's amazing because, I walk in and I get total respect from professionals. I meet doctors, I meet lawyers, I meet celebrities here in Las Vegas, and they treat us with the utmost respect. And, they don't judge us by the way we look at all. As a matter of fact, the way we look, I think they think we're celebrities. We are to a degree, but I think they think we're performers here in Las Vegas. They just expect people in Las Vegas to dress like this all the time. It's all about the way you carry yourself. And even more so, it's about frequency. And we were just at one of Cherie's doctors the other day, one of her surgeons, and the guy was so loving. And he was like, okay, this is a problem. I'm going to pull in 2 specialists. He's like, one of them's not in your network, but I'm going to call your insurance personally, and I'm going to make them have this doctor on board with you because I want this doctor. And you're lucky because he's the best in the country, and he just happens to be here in Las Vegas. And then he gave me a big hug afterwards, and I gave him a big hug, and it was an actual. Sweet. It wasn't a sideways hug.
Wow.
It wasn't anything like that.
It was genuine.
It was a hug, and I'm saying thank you so much for taking care of her the way you're taking care of her. And he said, you guys are just freaking amazing, and I want to take care of both of you. He goes, I know this is affecting both of you guys, and so we just meet people like that, and
we do.
It's amazing. You wouldn't expect to walk into a doctor's office and them know you by first name, give you hugs, and then you spend 20 minutes talking about your dogs and your cats.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of relationships we've built.
Yeah.
And it's a
when,
frequency and the energy,
You know what I mean? When in Rome, Las Vegas has given you, it's a beautiful, glamorous place. It's given you a space and an opportunity to be more creative, Chris. And if you want to freaking paint your nails, well, go for it. But I don't think that you're gay because of it. How bloody stupid and naive to be so homophobic and think that just because a guy wears nail polish and stuff like that. Oh, he's got long hair and stuff like that.
You hit the nail on the head.
Fuck, man. Do you know how
that's what it is.
Your hair is?
Thank you.
I'm just thinking. I'm laughing because I'm thinking of how non-gay Chris.
Well, you hit the nail on the head because
he's a lesbian.
That's always what I've suspected. Because I don't care if there's trannies out there. I don't care. Like it's none of however you want to live, however you want to dress, that's perfectly fine. We used to go to Numbers in Houston, and there were a lot of transsexual ladies there that looked very beautiful.
Yeah,
and I could
possible.
admire their beauty, and I could be like, wow, these are beautiful women. I can't get involved with them for a couple
Right.
reasons, like the hormones are off.
Yeah.
And then the whole fact that, the genitals are different, but I can still look at a beautiful woman and go, wow, she's actually pretty gorgeous, even though she might be, a transvestite. Likewise, I can look at a man and go, wow, that's a very good looking man.
Attractive man.
It doesn't mean that I want to do anything with them
sex.
sexually, but I think that's what a lot of this homophobia comes from, is that they have that deep-seated, like, they see that and they're like, oh, I want to jump all over that, but I feel like it's wrong for me to do so I'm gonna hate it, and I'm gonna go on a crusade against it. And I'm just like, everybody should just be however they want, and that's it. And beauty is it's an Egyptian thing. The Egyptians always made themselves beautiful. The pharaohs would wear the eye makeup and all of that. And we've lost all of that. There's nothing wrong with beauty. Beauty is
why?
beauty.
Because it was okay to be male and female at the same time. We were androgynous. The human race was androgynous thousands and millions of years ago. I can't remember one of the first or third seeding or whatever. I mean, try different experiments and stuff like that. And we do see, androgynous people. I find them absolutely beautiful. I've seen androgynous ETs that I have fallen in love with and wanted to jump on their bones straight away.
I think
I was totally out of control seeing some of these hot spunks. They were beautiful, and they were male and female at the same time. I resonated with that because I thought, my God, they're absolutely stunning and beautiful, and there's nothing wrong. And I realized that as our sexes were separated with the polarity, but that's what we used to be at one time in gazillions years ago. It was this both this feminine and masculine was absolutely beautiful, and we were just so superior. It was incredible, and I think I resonate with that,
Yeah.
And it's kind of a bridge for me to kind of be more acceptable in the 3D reality. Otherwise, if we just keep segregating ourselves, we'll never be able to be approachable to help other people.
Right.
Otherwise we'll just stick in our own little bubble. And I know a lot of gay people, and you know what, guys, the same issues that we have in the spiritual community is what the same issues is what happens in the gay community too. They have the same hate speech on them. They have the same
drama. Yeah.
Same drama. It's
and
just
it all comes from the same group of people.
Yes.
Always.
Non-acceptance. Non-acceptance,
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that we have to be a little bit more accepting of things instead of all this judgment all the time, this right brain bloody judgment all the time, and get more into the left side and more into the heart, and not judge people for who they are, because they're just labels and language that try to keep us in these tiny little boxes that we're all trying to break out, and we're just going to rebel. We just rebel against that. It's natural.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say earlier when I mentioned the transsexuals, I said hormones. I meant pheromones. They still
pheromones.
They still have the male pheromones. And that's and to me that's the number one thing of attraction is the pheromone. My ex was a little more masculine. She was a woman, 100%, but she just had this masculine pheromone to her. And then I smelled Cherie, and I was like, oh my God, this is what a woman is supposed to smell like.
Smelled her clothes. I smelled her clothes when I moved in. Me and his mom were going through her clothes, and we were like, it smells different in her closet than it does in a normal woman's closet. And so we wondered, what was up with that. But even other women, we are fine-tuned to be very sensitive to the hormonal emissions of other people, and these pheromones are what determine our sexual drives. But what determines our sexual drives, if you're an organic consciousness, eventually is more of a spiritual thing. And it's and like you said, I do know of at least one being in the quote-unquote real world that is an androgynous being, and they sit on the council because they're androgynous, and they have like this voting system that's set up where it's a certain number of males and a certain number of females, and they have the deciding vote.
Yeah, let me clue Nikki into what we're talking about here. So from my understanding, in Atlantis, there's a council of 9 There's 4 female, 4 male, and then there's 1 androgynous being. And usually the decisions are made between the males and the females, and it's a perfect balance of female and male energy. But in the event that there's a tie, then the tiebreaker is the androgynous character that's there. I don't know if you've heard of this Council of 9 or not, but I've seen this many times. Okay.
And it makes sense, doesn't it?
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, wouldn't it be great if we had that here?
Yeah.
Can you imagine being an androgynous person? You would have the male and the female in both aspects. I mean, that's what they're trying to stop. They're trying to stop here is that male and feminine inside us.
Well,
to
the
come
balance.
together.
Having the balance of the two in perfect unison with each other and not have either one battling
in
with
conflict.
the other. Yeah. That would be wonderful. Yeah.
And then you have that harmonious person making those decisions to project out in absolute pure harmonics. Oh,
yeah.
Can you imagine being in that frequency? I've been in that frequency. I know what it's like. It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's not
unconditional love.
Yeah. It's, it's really the conquering of it's not the ego. It's what makes the ego toxic to the rest of the world that we're kind of battling against every day, and that's usually reflected through whatever sex we are. If we're a male, then that's reflected through aggression and anger and resentment and blowing up and being physically violent, a lot of the time. With women, it's more like this bitter, resentful, but more cancerous type of negativity that eats away over a long period of time, but does just as much damage. And we're constantly battling against this force that makes us act like this. And in the process, we're balancing out these two energies within ourselves. And the key to it is seeking that which we don't want, but that we know is the best thing for us. Like in a woman's case that is acting out those negative female kind of urges, it's more like take on a more masculine role for your own life and take more control over your own life. And if you take in more of that masculine energy into your heart space, I guess you could say, then it makes you able to battle that a lot easier. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I had the opposite. I was operating on too much masculine. I'd hidden my heart away because of trauma. So my masculine was over operating, trying to compensate for the lack of heart energy because I'd hidden away so long. And I see this playing out in a lot. And in a lot of women and men too, where they just hide that away because they don't want to be hurt.
Right.
But because I've done this remote viewing and everything's been set right now, everything's been cleaned out and set right, and I understand fully how for me personally, I was acting much more masculine than I didn't really embrace the feminine until a lot. Later in my life, after I actually had children, at the very beginning, I was more like, I was operating on my masculine. I dressed like Trinity, in the 90s with the leather pants, and the strong woman was coming out then, Sigourney Weaver and all that kind of stuff, right? So for me, I was operating much too much on the masculine side. And then when I went through all these traumas, I'd hidden my heart away. And now I'm much more balanced in a way where I'm accepting the feminine within me and bringing that more and giving that more balance. So for me, it was the opposite. But I do see the opposite playing around. And I see the inversions too, because it's in an inversion of the masculine feminine to screw us up into thinking, into stopping of us coming to the self-realization of who we really are and understanding those masculine and feminine principles and how they play out and how important they are.
Right.
Because there's so many programs out there designed to pull us into this aggression and the masculine and this and that and that. And then people perceive the feminine as weak and, you know, the flower and the vulnerability and soft and They don't recognize the power and the beauty in that. Now that's all coming back and people are starting to recognize that the divine feminine within us and that sacred feminine within us actually has more power than what we thought. You know, it's been hidden for a really long time.
Right.
And that's all coming out now. And I find that's coinciding with this new frequency of the mother when the real mother's just come back and she said, that's it. I've had enough. That is it. I'm walking out. No more, you know, trauma, blah, 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 blah. You're not going to, you know, ruin my children anymore. I'm here to come back and bring out these frequencies. And we just got to, you know, let that ripple out and play out and understand that energy is there for us if we just open our minds a little bit and understand these things are principles and they're not just a person. Do you know what I mean? Like it's easy when or a program. You know, Chris would probably understand that more as a pro. He calls it a program. I call it a principle. So it plays out in many different ways where I actually can see it now. And I've seen the problems in my family where we've got too many girls and just one boy, you know, and we're too many strong women. And we're very masculine, right? And I can see where that is all coming because my value systems of my family thought that was powerful, and we should focus more on that, and that's how you're going to get through in life. We didn't realize that this beautiful feminine energy is so sacred and powerful, and now that she's back and she's kicking people's ass.
Well, and
you know, personally as a man, you know, I prefer stronger women.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I prefer Trinity type women that I know can kick some ass and that can have my back.
Right.
Likewise, I like to be the protector too. So I'm always, you know, I'm always opening doors. I'm always, you know, the woman always walks in front of me because it's a protection thing. Because if somebody comes up from the back, then they're coming up to my back instead of her back. You know, I'm able to see everything. But the one thing, the damsel in distress thing, I think that's a program.
That was absolutely a program.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It is meant to, and it's not just meant for women, it's meant for men as well. It's meant to reinforce the victim programming that makes you a perpetual victim that's always waiting for a savior of some sort, whether that's the knight in shining armor or it's a savior on a cross. And so going back to real quick to something somebody said in the chat that I thought was interesting. Anastasia said, the balance of male-female energies is misunderstood. The true meaning of this is the self-conscious and subconscious minds are balanced. It has nothing to do with sexual energies. I disagree to a point. I think that what we're talking about has everything to do with sensual energies because, number one, Freud was wrong about a lot of things, but he was right about a few things. And one of them was that in the subconscious mind, almost everything is about the genitals. Everything can go back to that at some origination point. And it goes back to the need to biologically reproduce, as well as the need to connect with either the nurturing of the mother, if you're a male, or the nurturing of the father if you're a female, and being protected or having the feeling of being able to protect oneself. That's biologically number one thing in all of our subconscious minds. So number one thing, I think, is to learn how to harness these energies so that the sensual energies inside of us cannot be used against us or be used to manipulate us.
Yes. Oh, spot on. I totally agree. Sexual energy, it can create anything, not just a child. We need to understand that. And, you know, this, and then, you know, the male and the female coming together. My God, that is so powerful. The thing is that they're trying to stop that. You can see that being played out, you know, in so many different ways, and in our history too. It's like, you know, that's the masculine, and that goes there, and that's the feminine, and that goes there, and they never the two shall meet.
Yep. Because
once they do, we don't need you Matrix bullshit guys anymore. We got our own creative power. We've discovered it within ourselves. It's come together now.
Can I chime in on that topic? Because I have to agree with both of you, but also agree with the with the person that left the comment, because I think it is very important to distinguish when we're talking about consciousness, the feminine and masculine aspects of consciousness. And I think first and foremost, that has to be distinguished. Then it goes into sexual energies as well, as above, so below, but it originates with the consciousness. So I think what the person who left the comment, where they were coming from, is that it's important to remember that when we talk about feminine, masculine, we're ultimately referring to elements of consciousness first and foremost. Then whatever else happens to trickle down.
Oh, of course. And and I was just saying that it's a natural consequence that it always trickles down eventually in a 3D way to sexual energies and sensual energies, which are so deeply embedded within us and within our society that it's often used as a base level programming technique of getting you in a frequency where they can hijack you, and you're no longer in a meditative state. Now you're thinking about sex, or you're thinking about putting your whatever in whatever.
That's a big ploy. That's something that you really have to look beyond, because that's the number one manipulator is sex. And you see it all over the place, literally everywhere. I'm surprised they haven't showed girls twerking taking the vacation. Like, I could see them going to that level. Like, hey, actually they have. They have.
Yeah.
Remember that tour that musician was doing?
Mm-hmm.
It was called Vaxxed and Horny?
Vaxxed and Horny.
Vaxxed and Horny.
Yep.
And it was a tour that some musician was doing, and they were saying, hey, everybody come and hook up together.
It was a comedian.
Yeah, with all the other singles who are all vaxxed and horny, and have a big party, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
That's nasty.
So they're trying to incorporate sex. Yeah, they are selling the vacation with sex.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if there's another program out there to siphon that sexual energy off and invert it and use it somewhere else. And maybe that might come back at you and bite you on the bum.
Yeah, and create some kind of...
If you're not careful how we use it. And I think we're starting to really recognise how powerful this is. And I think we will get to learn more and more about these sexual creative energies that don't just create a baby. Do you know what I mean? We will start to understand how we can use these, the mechanics behind it, and understand it in a way where we can use it. In a way, it's always been there. I know it's always been there. It's just that it hasn't been brought into my consciousness yet. And I suspect that power will be revealed later or given to us a little bit later, because there's just no way they're going to give that to us now with everything going on.
Somebody mentioned in the chat they did do it. They did have girls twerking about the vacation.
Yeah, they did.
Remember that rap video? Vax that thing up.
Vax that thing up.
There used to be a song, back that thing up, and now it turned into Vax that thing up. And that's when I stopped doing rap music, because we're in a lot of trouble. So on that note, let's take a quick break. I don't know, Nikki, how much time you have. If you need to take off.
I'm okay.
Are you okay? Okay, cool.
I was tired when I first spoke to you before we started. I was exhausted and now I'm all fired up and I can keep going. So
good.
I'll hang out, guys. I'll hang out.
Okay,
as long as you
cool.
need me, I'll be here.
So what should we play during the break? We have several different things we can play. We can play Speak No Evil, which people haven't heard in a while.
Yeah.
We can play We're in a Lot of Trouble.
That one's good too.
We can play My Darkness. We can play What Does the Sheep Say?
My Darkness and What Does the Sheep Say are good ones, but we haven't played the first one in a long time.
Speak No Truth. That's what it's called. Speak
That
No
one's a good
Truth.
one.
That one is. It's kind of depressing though.
It is kind of depressing, and I don't know if we want depressing tonight.
Okay, what's a good uplifting one?
We're in a lot of trouble is like makes you mad, but I don't know if it makes you uplifted. I kind of like what's the other one you mentioned? I'm sorry. I am getting a little bit tired. I'm just
Okay. It's okay. We'll play Remix Bros. How about that?
Oh yeah, that one's really good. Yeah, I don't want to bring the frequency down.
Yeah, I don't want to bring the frequency down either. So let's see what Remix Bros.
Yeah, the sheep one is good too.
Oh, the sheep one? Okay.
Yeah, people are saying they want to hear
does the
what does the
sheep
sheep say. We will play that.
We will be right back. Kiss the one you love right now. You never know when the last time is going to be. Once again, for those of you listening on the YouTube channel, the show is actually 5 hours and 48 minutes, give or take, when we cut the breaks. We discussed everything from the feline energy to the light body, to the upgrades in the light body, to invoking the feline energies, we shared personal experiences with Grays. We answered a bunch of questions from the chat room. One of our Patreons, I won't name him by name unless he wants me to, Guru, I'll just leave it at that, shared a very, very, very powerful experience that he's had recently about decompressing and deprogramming his consciousness and finding the raw consciousness and finding the mission about being in the matrix, unplugging himself, replugging himself back in the way that he wants to be plugged back in. It was a very, very, very powerful show. So I urge you all to go to patreon.com/BTV Tribe, check out the full shows. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. So what we put on here on YouTube is just a small fraction of what you will find beyond the veil. Kiss the one you love right now. You never know the last time it's going to be. Thank you so much for tuning in, and especially for those of you, Alyssa, many others, TII News, many others who have spent the entire 6 hours with us tonight. Like I said before, the most valuable commodity is time, and you have spent it with us, and we are eternally grateful for that. Love ya, and see you even further.
Beyond the veil.
Let's go, Brandon.